Everybody, I'm going to call to order the Village of Franklin regular council meeting of Monday, September 8th, 2025. Can we do the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah.
Is he?
Heather, hi. Roll call, please.
Abigail Gates.
Here.
Trustee Gapdo. Trustee Daniel Harris.
Here.
Trustee Pam Hansen. Here. Trustee Angelina Salaka.
Here.
Trustee Michael Seltzer. Trustee David Solly.
Here.
And President Goldberg.
Here. Okay.
Can I add, adding, a member to the Green Committee?
The Green
Yeah,
Subcommittee?
I can either do it when Stuart gives his, I don't even know if it needs to be formal, but he's done a lot of engineering work and has great ideas and is, coming on with lots of energy, and so we'd like to have him on the subcommittee, especially as the planning chair.
Okay, and that subcommittee is still operating?
Yeah, it's under the infrastructure committee, so maybe we should put it under special reports.
No, we can just add it at the end to new business if you want it. So will you just want Stuart to get appointed to the committee?
Yeah, if it needs to be formalized, or if he could just work as the planning chair, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you and I had discussed
Yeah.
a restructure to include more participants and going back to our original makeup. But sure, for the time being, we can add that, and Stuart's so inclined, then we'll
Yeah,
do that. We'll add that as item G
Under new business?
under new business.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna add an item H that I'd like to bring as a discussion item to the council regarding something that HR committee has discovered in the course of its looking for a new treasurer. I wanted to get council feedback on an issue. So it's discuss an HR committee issue regarding the village treasurer that I'd like to add as H. Anything else?
I don't know if this needs to be an item, but I'd like to make a motion to, get consultant or legal opinion circulated to council when they're commissioned. So whether
One more
it's,
time?
like when, Pete does legal work, or when McKenna does planning commission work and provides recommendations or memos or opinions, can those be shared with council as a group instead of just one?
Refer to you.
Yeah, normally I work with the administrator, whoever that is. If they ask for a legal opinion, I'll sometimes give them oral opinion, or I'll put it in writing. I have no problem producing that. It's however you guys want to interact with the administrator. Is there a specific legal opinion you're?
Yeah, I mean, just, so we're gonna have an item come up about, consideration of a donation to the playground, which is a 501c3, but it's owned by the church. So like, I know we talked about there's not gonna be legal issues with church and state, but like, I want to know, like, when you, like, opine on something, I would like it in writing and also for documentation, just so we're covered, it's a record. Now, in 3 years, if we give another donation, we can refer to that. If the case law changes, we can update it. So anytime, and we can talk, this is why I want to make it an agenda item, but.
Yeah, no, that's something that I guess if you could somehow memorialize that and then get that to legal committee so that we could get a
Okay.
discussion with Peter at legal committee. I mean, I don't have a problem with the transparency of it, except to the extent that it's attorney-client privileged information, which would then obviously eliminate that privilege.
Not,
So-
aren't we also, everyone on council holds the privilege?
I understand that, so that's the question of how you want it distributed.
The way I understand it is, the village holds the privilege. You guys are the client. Now it'd have to be a vote if you guys wanted to disclose that or waive that privilege. I don't recommend doing it. On this specific issue, once we get to it, I can address it as well. I don't see an issue with the whole church and state issue. It's just a matter that whatever funds you're using go to public purposes. I looked at that briefly. I didn't have time to prepare an opinion, nor did anyone ask me. As long as, for that preschool matter, is that what you're suggesting? I don't have an issue with the whole church and state concept. But if it comes to providing funds and donating, it has to be for a public purpose. And if it's a preschool and it's for the whole community, I would be okay with that. But if it's for one specific project and not for public purpose, then I have some hesitation. But I have not researched that in detail in a little while. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, but that's like an isolated
All right,
issue.
so Angelina, we're trying to adopt an agenda. You're asking for an agenda item. I'm telling you, no, that's not getting on the agenda tonight. We have other things to do, so that's the end of the discussion. If you want, if you
I
want
mean,
to
I could
explain
make a
to us,
motion and we can vote on it.
well, you need a motion, you'll need a second, and then just because there's a motion on it, that's fine. But that's during the meeting. We're not doing it at
Okay.
adoption of agenda. And I would prefer that we have our attorney have an opportunity to think about this other than being put on the spot or do some research on it at a council meeting. I'm not sure what you're trying to get at. We only have a discussion right now about the preschool. So,
It's fine, I'll bring it up when it comes up.
anybody else? All right, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, all right, so we have a motion by Hanson, a second by Gates. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Minutes of our regular meeting of August 11th.
I'll move to approve the minutes of August 11th.
We have a motion to approve. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion? Is there anything that needs to be discussed that's in here?
No, not me.
So, I actually want to make a comment on it, and it's, the exception, I do have a correction that needs to be made, but, so I was reading these minutes, and I didn't get a chance to ask you, Heather. So, Dana had originally began this new process, these new kind of condensed minutes that we have, which read really well. And since you've been back, you've kind of followed on it, streamlined it even a little bit more. And I was reading through these and saying to myself as I was reading, I'm like, these are some of the cleanest to read minutes, the way it was laid out, the way the synopsis of each of the person's comments were, the name of the person who made it at the beginning with, amongst ourselves. And then I got to the end, and it said, submitted by Sophia.
Yes, yes.
That's
She is
unbelievable.
Yes. She is able to
She,
actually.
I mean, I've been writing her a letter of recommendation right now, but yeah. She has been such an incredible help, and we're retaining her to help on this. When I saw that, I was floored. Unbelievable, first attempt at doing minutes. So anyways, my only comment was, we were doing a discussion on page 8, under new business, with regard to the patrol vehicle. So the couple places in here, in the first paragraph, ordinance, really, we were talking about amending the charter, not an ordinance. And then in the next paragraph, there are many charter sections. In the two places, there's the word ordinance, it should be charter sections.
Okay.
That's what we were talking about. Otherwise, these were These were great. So we have a motion. I've made a change to it. So is everybody, Pam and Abby, are you okay with the suggested change?
Yeah.
All right, so all in favor of the minutes as amended? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Public requests and comments. So anybody who wants to speak, before you come up here, so we're evolving here in Franklin and growing. So, at a couple other commission meetings recently, there's been some hesitation from individuals to give specific information about themselves when they're speaking to the boards. And we asked our attorney to do a little research on the matter. So as it turns out, the village or any body under the Open Meetings Act does not have the ability to make anybody give any information, register, or do anything in order to attend a public meeting. It's kind of silent on whether the issue of speaking, although it definitely does not authorize us to mandate the ability to take any information from people. So, moving forward, at least in our council meetings, and I'll discuss with the chairs moving forward and of the other bodies, if you want to address us, if you want to give us your name, please do, because if you don't,
I'm pleased-
I'm not speaking to you, Andrea, this wasn't to you, this was the generic, because you were the first guy up, I'm not, so.
That's fine.
So if you let me finish, if you want to give us your name, please do. That allows us to have any follow-up or way to track that you spoke, as well as to recognize you in the minutes as having spoke. If you want to tell us what street, if you live in the village and you want to tell us what street you live on, that would be great also, because that helps us track where comments and complaints are coming from, because we have a system that tracks what areas of the village issues are arising. And if you live outside of the village, if you want to just tell us what community you live in so that we can track it that way, it would be wonderful. If you don't want to give us any information, then you're welcome to speak, but you'll just go on record as having been a person who spoke.
So, good evening.
Yes, sir,
I'm pleased
please.
to identify myself
Thank you.
and give you all these particulars. My name is Bruce Blanton, as many of you know.
Yep,
I live at 27175 Garden Way in Franklin. Our zip code, of course, is 48025, in case you need that info.
appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
All right, so I came here a couple of months ago, and my neighbor, Mr. Elders, who's also here, came, and we addressed the deer issue and the deer call. And we talked a little bit about it. It pretty much got tabled, from what I can tell. Tonight I'm here and I'm holding in my hand, and I'll bring this up and leave it with you. It's a copy of the Bloomfield Township Board of Trustees agenda for their meeting tonight. Item number 4, and I quote, "Discuss deer nuisances and options for control," presented by Mike McCready, Township Supervisor, and special guest Chad Stewart, Michigan Department of Natural Resources, close quote. So here is our neighbor to the north, Bloomfield Township, and they have now gone so far as to actually put this on their agenda so that there can be some discussion publicly with the board about what's happening. I note from a copy of the minutes that you just adopted and approved from, you approved them, I guess tonight was June 9th. Anyway, someone from Bingham Farms, Jan Freeman, came and asked the council to elaborate on their involvement to a solution on the overpopulation of deer. Goldberg assured Freeman the village is collaborating with the local communities to address this concern. I would like to know what you meant by collaborating. Are you having meetings? Do you have a subcommittee? Have you made arrangements to put this on the agenda so that we can have a public discussion about this, other than just having myself or some other residents come and ask you what you're doing? And I think you need to elaborate on that. The third point I have references a piece in the Detroit News by reporter Julia Carty This is from July 22 of 2025. She reports that the Michigan State Police reported 58,000 collisions of deer and vehicles in 2023. And that was mostly in April through June and October through December, when the deer are most active. What the reporter points out is that at least 3 Metro Detroit cities, Farmington, Farmington Hills, and Southfield, are already moving forward with plans to do culls in January of 2026. Livonia, their city council, according to this piece, has taken this information
Right,
and they're
so
moving
Mr.
forward. No,
Blanton-
let me finish. They're moving forward with this, the city of Livonia, which is one of the largest cities in the
Exactly.
state. So what are we doing here?
So if you're finished, I'll address it when it comes to my president's report, and we have looked into it, and I'll answer your questions. So is there anything else you need to speak about, because you've taken up your allotted time for today, so.
Very well. If you're going to put that, I just want to make sure this is on the record, because so far, nothing's happened. And, you know,
Nothing's happened amongst the council, but that doesn't mean our village staff hasn't done anything. So I'll address that
we
later.
need
Thank
to,
you.
we need to address this and put this on the record so everybody knows exactly what, if anything, you guys are doing.
Understood.
Thank you.
Mr. Goldberg, Council. I'm William Elders,
Sir,
27221 Apple Tree Lane, for 56 years and 1 month, I might add. Along these subject lines, last night I was waiting to watch the Buffalo and Baltimore football game. I was flipping around on channels, and I came upon the Newsmax channel. And guess what they were talking about? Which animal do you think is the most dangerous animal that exists in the United States of America in terms of money that's been lost because of their actions? It's none other than the white-tailed deer. According to Newsmax, they've received reports saying that billions with a capital B, are spent every year on accidents relating to deer. Last meeting we had, I mentioned that the DNR had been here 7 or 8 years ago, I'm going to say, talking about this subject matter. And the moderator, as I recall, the figures were, in a 5-year period of time, a female deer will reproduce 120 offspring. And in a very short period of time, the deer population in Franklin will exceed the population of human beings. After our last meeting, I learned that Southfield, as Mr. Blanton said, Farmington, and Southfield had already approved a deer cull program to commence in January of '26. So I called these 3 communities, only received one phone call. In return, Mr. Goldberg, you may know his name. His name is David Murphy. He tells me that he had served in a governmental relationship with the village some time ago, but he has since moved to Farmington. We talked about the deer situation. He informed me, he said, Bill, the person you should be talking to is a gentleman by the name of Brian Farmer, who is at Farmington Hills, and he has spearheaded the program for Farmington Hills and Farmington. He's the one to talk to. We have all these accidents, we have all these losses, and I'm wondering what's it going to take? Is somebody going to have to be killed? Is a child going to be injured? Somebody going to be partially or permanently disabled because of these accidents? Our ecosystem tells us that the village of Franklin, which is 2.7 miles, can accommodate 15 to 20 deer per square mile. So that's 45 to 60 deer for our little area of 2.7 or 3 square miles. And I'd like to ask you, Mr. Goldberg, somebody has to contact, in my opinion, or should contact Mr. Farmer at Farmington Hills to ask these questions and see what it would take to get this program rolling along. And Mr. Goldberg, I'd like to ask you, would you be the person that would be making that phone call?
Yes, I've spoken to Mr. Farmer several times. I've sat in on his video conferences, and I will address this, just like I told Mr. Blanton, when we get to President's Report. I'd like to get through public comments.
Okay?
So you guys are asking for an answer on the call, I'm more than happy to give it to you.
Okay.
Anything else to add?
When do you think this might take place?
In about 20 minutes, if we can get through public comments and a few other items on our agenda.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
My name is Margaret Bancroft. I'm at 27310, excuse me, Wellington Road in Franklin. And this was not planned. We didn't coordinate this at all. This is a surprise, but I'm speaking about the deer also. I think Franklin's got a real problem, not only Franklin, but the entire surrounding area. And it's the deer population, which is increasing exponentially. A few years ago, you only saw a few deer, that especially this year, they're everywhere, in everybody's yard, in herds, and with many, many young deer. If we do not take steps to manage the deer population, we are on the way to losing our ecosystem. This has been realized by many other communities, as you know, Ann Arbor, East Lansing, Jackson, Muskegon, Meridian Township, Huron, Clinton, Metro Parks, and MSU have all carried out their own population control measures. All of this was 100% safe. In most cases, the harvested meat was processed and donated to food banks. We have been given a golden opportunity to join with Southfield and Farmington Hills in the coming year for a management program, their management program beginning in January. The highest density population, often exceeding 20 deer per square mile, has been observed in the western and the northern portions of the city of Southfield, typically along the Rouge River corridor and the shared corridors borders with Farmington Hills, Franklin, and Berkeley. A deer browse impact study has revealed statistically significant overbrowsing of the monitored native species in all the parks and the natural areas that they studied. All of this information is taken from a 2023 study by the Department of Natural Resources, which was commissioned by the city of Southfield and for our urban area. This study was done 2 years ago, so I can only guess what the population is now. And it's complete with maps and everything. And I have that here if y'all are interested in looking at that. You can find that on the website for Southfield Township, for the city of Southfield. In addition to the destruction of the understory vegetation, small trees are being girdled, saplings are being eaten, and invasive species are taking the place of the native vegetation. Also, deer are known to carry disease in the form of deer ticks. And this is not even to mention, as they did, the car deer accidents. And it, not only that, it is costing a lot of money. In 2018, the Southfield Department of Public Works has been...
Again, we understand, we've been researching it, we have gotten data on the deer. So, again, I understand everybody wants an answer on where we're at on the original discussion of a deer call that is taking place in our neighboring communities. And I'll be more than happy to address that in a few minutes. So if there's anything outside of deers that you have to add,
No,
I'd be more than
not,
happy to take your factual information, but there's not a decision being made today, so that data is really just not helping
Okay.
us right now.
so I'm just imploring that the city
And I will address that in a few
address this and
minutes.
take it into consideration.
Yes, we will.
We are
And
serious.
have.
We just want to remind everyone that there's a 2-minute limit, or keep it around 2 minutes, please. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Princella Graham.
Hi.
My husband Charles and I live at 27355 Wellington. We're at the corner of 13 and Inkster, right at our village corner. And I will not go over all the, information that you already have, things that you've already researched and information you've already discovered. I know that Franklin Village is a part of the major council, the Southeast Michigan Urban Council or whatever. So you guys have been working on this for a while. But I did talk to Brian Farmer just this afternoon, and there is the Franklin Hills Golf Club that's right on the corner of 13 and Inkster. He was not aware that that was a part of Farmington Hills. And he says that that is one of the areas that they think would be most beneficial when they do this culling in January, to set up, the blinds or whatever to do the culling in that area. Partly because when they did their aerial survey for deer, they found that there were 1,598 deer in Southville and Farmington Hills. There's 150 deer right in that corner of Inkster and 13 Mile. I know, because I have a herd in my backyard. They get up at 7:30 in the morning, they go grouse, and then they come back at 4:30 and they sleep. So one of the things he...
All our houses in between.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things he mentioned was that if that Franklin Hills is a part of Farmington Hills, it will be easier for them to work with them if you guys will work with the golf club themselves and get approval. They can actually add that into the culling that they're going to be doing in January. And he just mentioned that to me today. So again, I'm like everyone else. I'm grateful for the work that you guys are doing, all the information you've been able to glean, and hopefully we'll be able to get involved in this. The other thing that Brian mentioned is that if we can't do and join in on 2026, that he would be willing to take the lead if we want to partner with Southville and Farmington Hills and Farming. He will take the lead and help us get engaged and involved in the process for 2027.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm John Simon of 30320 Kincardine. I remain very concerned that the council has not yet resolved the issues that result in the resignation of both Megan Schubert as well as the loss of the entire administrative staff. So I have two important questions to put to the council. Because you are now in the process of interviewing and selecting a new administrator, I want to know what you are telling these candidates when they ask you why the last administrator and her staff resigned. My second follow-up question is, what are you telling these candidates that your solution is for preventing the same problem from happening again? To cut to the chase, I want the village to know what steps the council has devised to prevent an individual trustee from overreaching their job description and attempting to direct, micromanage, or influence the work of the administrator and the staff. This was the main reason Megan resigned, as she indicated in her letter. So, council, if there is a trustee amongst you who refuses to abide by the village ordinance 428.08, which prohibits any trustee from trying to manage or direct the work of the administrator or his staff, what are you going to do to cut short such behavior and prevent a similar crisis from reoccurring? Have you determined the appropriate reprimand and the consequences for such demoralizing and illegal activity? Council, are you making it clear to the new administrator that he or she will now be able to run this village without being directed, managed, or intimidated by an individual trustee? This administrator must be assured that he or she is only answerable to the council as a whole and not to individual trustees who may be promoting their own personal agendas. Finally, Megan shared with me that her nights, days off, and vacations were frequently interrupted by a trustee whose busy family work schedule made it inconvenient to call Megan during their regular workday. Surely you will agree that the administrator's job is not to be on call 24 hours a day. I have sent this letter to the trustees, and I would expect and appreciate a response more than just thank you for sharing.
Sir?
Thank you. I'm Jeff King. I live on Branningham, 32800 Branningham Road. And I was just wondering, I know that this has been discussed at the previous two council meetings about crosswalks at Normandy and Wellington and Branningham and Wellington, sorry. And I think there's one other location that's been looked into, but I was hoping if there would be an update on that. I know there had been decisions about potentially some solutions for the crosswalks. I also noted that and wanted to thank, it looks like some of the brush was cleared at Branningham and Wellington, and that was much appreciated. And then I also just wanted to make a comment about how some of the response to criticism was received, and just wanted to note that it was a little disappointing to see some of that deflected at the previous meeting. And I would just ask for more open minds when receiving criticisms from folks in the village, and appreciate that be considered as well. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Natalia Shoup, 32334 Franklin Road, Franklin, Michigan. I have nothing to hide, especially my address, which brings me to my first thing. I have reviewed the documents the village provided in response to my FOIA request, records related to Trustee Seltzer's residency and council status. After reviewing these records and verifying certain points that were unredacted, along with other verifiable public information, I can confirm that the village did not provide any proof based on these documents and without verifying certain important information that would confirm Mr. Seltzer's qualification to serve on the council. Therefore, based on these documents, he is not eligible to serve. The exemption that the village provided to to exclude information do not apply to this case. The village attorney should not have affirmed Mr. Seltzer's eligibility at the last council meeting. In addition, what transpired at the last August Planning Commission meeting during Mr. Seltzer's public comment provides further confirmation he does not reside in Franklin, or affirmatively raises concern about possible memory issues, which he stated he doesn't remember his address. This matter deserves careful review by the council to avoid further question of credibility and compliance with the village charter. The copies of my FOIA and legal argument were copied to all of you today. Second, I would like to address President Goldberg's behavior at the meetings, which extends beyond just council sessions. At one point, I was informed by a text from Trustee Seltzer that the environment at the legal committee meeting was so explosive at that time when President Goldberg was still a trustee. Due to his yelling and explosive temper, the President Lamott at that time had to leave the meeting. Witnessing that disrespectful and threatening behavior in person, I now ask that President Goldberg stop yelling at certain trustees and residents and exercise better control over your temper. It has become intimidating to attend council meeting or even see you in public, as your anger can appear suddenly and unpredictably. While one trustee is being blamed for the resignation of 3 employees, we do not know the full story. But the behavior I have personally observed, confirmed by Trustee Seltzer, raises serious concern about the leadership of President Goldberg and the conduct of these meetings and when in closed sessions and meetings. A healthy council should be one where residents and trustees alike feel safe to speak without fear or of hostility. President Goldberg, please remember, the gavel you're not forgetting every meeting to pull out of the cabinet is not the crown. I ask you, sir, please do better, at least try. And then I also would like to address Trustee Hansen directly. The campaign finance complaint, Shoup versus Seltzer, concerning potential violation by Mr. Seltzer is still open and under review. I'm sure you've received my email, which copied to all council members at and the village attorney. And I trust that tonight you will do the right thing by retracting the false derogatory allegation you made against me personally and the claim that the case that was closed. False statements made in a public forum not only harm me personally, but also undermine residents' trust in the transparency and integrity of this council. And lastly, I want to say, since April, I was asking if it was not done to raise or give a bonus to Jenna. She worked hard, and if there is possible anything to do, I would appreciate if you can consider that. Thank you.
Oh, hi, I'm Nancy Ream. I live in Franklin Ravines, 32692 Ravine Drive, behind what used to be the bank. Been here in Franklin since 1982, however long that is. I'm here today to give my own personal opinion and my professional opinion on what is happening here with respect to this current ethical dilemma that we are all facing, given the fact that we have two married individuals now, and I think it's you and you. I don't even know who it is. I know it's you, maybe you, serving simultaneously on the board. I've listened to everything. I've tried to get as much information as possible, and I was kind of flabbergasted at last month's meeting by David Goldberg's response when he said, you gave a kind of a 5-minute overview at the end. It starts on minute 50 of the video that said, well, there isn't any statute, that they're not violating any law. I am convinced that we've had consultation, and so we're just going to have to move forward, and basically it was like, forget about it. That's my take. And I would argue, as a 40-year clinical researcher at 2 major universities where I've conducted lots of NIH-funded research, as well as been involved in training programs in research ethics, that you are really facing a really bad situation right now, not only in terms of PR, but in terms of an ethical dilemma. And there are options for you. I got the impression that no one sees this as an ethical crisis. I got the impression that no one had even visited this as an ethical problem, or that you'd received any consultation from outside, external, not lawyers, but ethical consultants. And there are so many precedents out there for this kind of thing. Hospitals ask for help all the time on these kinds of issues, and it's not something that is new. So I put together for you, for all of you, a case study, which is the way we study ethical dilemmas in the medical field, and tried to explain as much as I knew, because I've had limited facts. I've tried to get as much information as possible on the situation. And also, I tried to come up with some potential useful remedies and resolutions to this. This is not something that we can put on the back burner anymore. This is not something that's going to go away. This has future relevance and implication and unintended consequences. I apologize for the jargon. For any vote that's going to go forward now, for 2 reasons: a real conflict of interest, not just perceived, but also unequal representation by these 2 members. I don't know who it is, I'm sorry. I'm guessing, by 2 members of your board, in terms of any vote, not just on budget issues or financial. So there are ways to remedy this, including the voluntary resignation of one of you, and ethics. I don't even know if there's an ethics committee that has been promulgated. That's one question. What do we do in terms of ethics? So what I did was I put together the case study. I'll make it short.
Can you wrap it up, ma'am?
Yes.
Do you have a case study that you'd like us to
And I put it on ChatGPT.
Submit it to the village clerk?
I'm sorry, you're cutting me off.
and we-
Everybody else talked a lot longer than this. And ChatGPT came back with lots of precedents about how you can resolve this, because we're not honoring the town that time forgot. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Mark.
Let me give you this here, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Mark Ziso, 32695 Redfern. I'm not going to beat you up on the deer that we all know about. I'm not going to beat you up about what's going on within the council. What I would like to talk about is we are talking about our drainage, our water drainage. Through the last few weeks, I've been driving through the village, and we have people putting in new driveways, but not putting in culverts. What are we going to do about that? Why don't we have permits asked for putting a driveway, which is a very large, expensive project, and we're losing more and more of our ditches each time one of these driveways goes in with no culvert. Thank everybody that's filled in during this time, Heather, Stephanie, and the chief. You've done a great job. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark. Anybody else? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close public comments and open reports of village officers and agents. Let's start with Chief.
Yes. Are there any questions on the report I submitted for the past month?
Were any of those crashes involving deer?
I'd have to get back to you on that.
Looks like there were 3 in Franklin.
I can say that one of our patrol cars hit a dead deer today on Telegraph, caused minor damage. So, yes, we do have crashes that involve deer within Franklin.
Good question.
All right, anybody have any other questions for Chief regarding his report or anything else?
I have a question. Can you give us an update on the mental health professional that you have hired?
Yes.
Yeah, and just what's happening with it?
So we have interviewed several social workers and psychologists, all of them very qualified. We really liked all of them. One stood out. She certainly is going to be a great asset to us. However, one of the cities that was involved in this agreement has not signed yet, so we're trying to work through that issue. And I will kind of circle back when I know more information on what that means, but it has delayed us for about a month. So we're hoping to get this moving certainly by the end of the year, if not by the end of October.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the report?
Anyone?
I'm happy to announce that we did put in for a RAP grant, which is a risk avoidance program grant through MMRMA that we're a member, for our new tasers that you authorized in this year's budget. That contract was over a period of 5 years, which is about a little over $10,000 a year for the new tasers. The grant that we received for 2026 is up to $26,000 to be reimbursed back to us. So I may have to come back to you and talk to you about maybe paying a little bit more of the invoice in 2025-26 so we can use this grant money. But it's good news. It'll bring some extra money to the village. And that's all that I have.
Any other questions? All right, thanks, Kurt. Chief?
Good evening.
Good evening.
You've also received the fire department's written report. There was two things I'd like to add, though, to the report. The first is going to be with reference to, we'll bring up legalities, if anyone knows any lawyers. Bad joke.
Not up here.
We were not up here, no.
Not
Council
here.
members tonight. Pam, you're on your own. You're the minority.
Looks like it. No, Abby's not here.
Oh, no? Okay.
Don't let me in with them.
Wow.
No.
And yet we'll all respond, no offense taken.
Right. The fire department was faced with a situation that occurred recently with reference to the end-of-life situation. This was something that was caused by a medical issue that had been going on for years. What I'm going to discuss is not about that person or about their issues. What I'm going to discuss is what is afforded to residents in Michigan, and that is power of attorney, medical power of attorney, decisions that need to be made with reference to treatments provided, basically what it is that you would like to see happen when you are in need. And I am using the word "you" specifically. It's not up to the fire department to make a determination of what you wanted, and it's not up to your family to make a determination of what you want. And if you have more than one child, if you have more than one sibling, if you have more than one relative who gets involved, those decisions can become quite murky. The fire department, in terms of medical response, is bound by protocols as established by Oakland County Medical Control. We have to follow them. And when we follow them, we do it to support what we are authorized to do, but we are also doing it with the repercussion of potentially alienating someone's family or relative. That did not happen in this case. But I would like to implore those who are watching this council meeting to think about what you would like to have happen when you are in need. It's a big question. It is something that generally people don't like to discuss, but it is something that is very important to each of us individually. So, as I said, in this case, it's not about this one instance. It's about something that I've been looking at you. I bring this up probably every 4 years, 5 years. Well, we've hit that cycle reset again. So I'd like to bring that up. The second thing is Thursday will be September 11th, the 24th year after the attacks of 9/11. I'd like everyone who's watching to think about that, from those who gave everything, to those who responded, to those who supported, to those who made a difference in whatever it is, big or small, that they've done. So I just wanted to make mention of our own history. Pending your questions, that'll conclude my report.
Any questions? No. All right.
Thank you.
And thank you for that remembrance. As time goes on, we remember it less and less, so we should not forget. And I appreciate you recognizing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Lance?
Good evening, trustees and president. Please accept my written report in the capacity as the village treasurer. The bills list report for this month totals $194,351.82. And the amounts of the bills list are consistent with normal monthly spending, and the expenditures are generally consistent with our budget. Very little action on the bills this month, but they did include an entry of $5,787.45. It's for police vehicle maintenance paid to Canfield Equipment. Very standard. The village has sufficient funds to meet its current and anticipated obligations, and the list of account balances is in the package is of September the 1st. We hold at First Merchant Bank. Any questions?
Anyone?
Okay.
Thanks, Lance. All right, current bills. Anybody have any questions for Chief?
Sorry, easy one, I think. Did we have a warranty for the generator when they came out to fix it, to inquire as to why it didn't kick in this summer?
Yeah, so I thought I circled back to you on that. That was for the maintenance agreement, not for repair, and yes, we do have a contract.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? All right, can we get a motion to approve the bills as submitted?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Solly, second by Hanson. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Special reports. Okay, let me start with the thank yous. In the course of the last month, we had our third music on the green. I'm sorry, with sorry, take that back. Our third event, which was music on the park. So, thank you to the FCA and the Historical Society to the extent they were involved in hosting that event. Another good turnout, trucks again, shifted it to a different location, a little different vibe, a little different setup, so, but it was good to have that, and having the whole month of August with events was wonderful, so thank you to the Historical Society and the FCA for that event. And then this last event of the month, which was the DTE event, which the Main Street Board and the Main Street program put together with DTE to get DTE to come in, and they entirely hosted that event on their own dime. And that was, again, another wonderful event, and 4 events on the green and the park this last month. It was really wonderful, and all the volunteers that helped, all the different people that were there, and particularly to the groups that sponsored it, special thank you. We really appreciated it. It was a great way to get people together, and we hope that those will continue.
You forgot the big one.
What's that?
Forgot the big one, the roundup.
Well, I know, that's next. All right, so then, next one's Roundup.
Separate category.
I've been going to Roundups my whole life, and, you know, you come in throughout different points in the day. Now that we're participating in the parade, we're there in the heart of it. I don't know if it was me, but that was, I think, more people than I've seen in downtown Franklin, maybe ever. If I had to guess, I would say 5,000 people were in our little area there. I don't know how you would in any way track that, but just coming down the parade line alone, it grows, and you don't even realize it. As we got to like the bank, it's like, wow, there's a lot of people here. And then from the bank to where Linda was speaking, it was 5 or 6 deep easily.
We all ran out of candy.
And that will be a separate matter. That's gonna be, I think it's gonna become a Franklin, it's gonna be a council-sponsored thing moving forward, because the kids seem to love it so much. But amazing job, guys. Kathy, phenomenal job. Could have been the best roundup that we've ever had. So, major kudos to you guys. You're getting better at it. You're setting it up quicker, and you're getting better and better vendors. So again, thank you guys so much. Amazing job. One other note, if anybody's up in the village area, there's some exterior and some minor renovations going on to the Krieger Barn. The Historical Society was given a donation by a donor. They know who it is, maybe. I don't, but it's irrelevant. Whoever that donor is, thank you. But a donor donated some money to the Historical Society, and they asked if it was donated specifically to do some cleanups of the barn. I mean, not really to get it to a usable area, which we hope to have plans for maybe sometime in the future, but a new paint job, a new face coat, fixing the steps, the treads, windows, ceilings, just a nice touch up to it, which we'll see completed in the next couple weeks. So thank you to whoever that benefactor was, and to the Historical Society for taking care of that and making sure that it found its way to the village. We did discuss last month about some work in the basement, which is gonna be an ongoing project, but the first and most important thing was some mold that was down there. Chief and Jenna and Heather took the lead on getting bids, found a contractor that gave us an amazing price. They came in and did the initial phase, which was to cut out all of the mold that was in the drywall areas, and treat anything else that was there. So that first phase is done. I was down there today, and it's definitely completely, you can't smell anything, and it was starting to get bad. So we began that process, and we'll begin getting bids to take care of other items down there, including getting all the walls sealed. just so everyone knows, civic event permit, nobody mentioned this at public comment, so I want to let everybody know that we did issue a civic event permit for Build a Scarecrow, which is hosted by the Historical Society. That takes place at the Krieger property. They provide supplies for anybody who wants to come down and put together a scarecrow, which finds its way around, scarecrows which find their way around the village. That is on September 27th, that's Saturday, from 9 to 2 in the from 9 to 2 at the Krieger property. Now for some of the items that people came up to. Crosswalks, I'll leave to the three of you to address where we're at, and Chief also will be able to chime in on, but the deer call. So, to refresh everybody's memory, Mr. Farmer who's in Farmington Hills, took the lead on this coalition of the surrounding communities to get support for a deer call. And I had been in communication with Mr. Farmer. I was on some of the earlier Zooms that he had on the subject matter. And we had asked him if he would provide us with all the data that he used for his backup. He had said no, well, he said yes, but I would prefer to wait to give it to you until Southfield and Farmington had taken action on it. He wanted to kind of, I guess he probably wanted to control the information at the time. So after they had approved doing calls in their communities, we had him send that information over, and Meg was the administrator at the time who we asked to investigate it. And Brian had been asking us to participate in the call. When we had Meg look at, so let me back up one step. While we were having all these discussions at our meetings regarding the call, hasn't been really seen in public comments, but in communications we've received from residents, there's a flip side of the call where there's a lot of people that, and we're all concerned about the deer, where there's the violence issue of killing a deer versus the sterilization piece. So there's the whole issue of you can accomplish some of this, maybe it takes a little longer and there's a process, but it can also be done through sterilization. So both of those issues had been confronted to us to have to research. However, one thing that Mr. Farmer didn't understand, and this fine lady mentioned earlier when she spoke, was he was under the impression that Franklin Country Club was in Franklin. And it's not, it's in Farmington Hills. So when we asked Meg to research doing a call in Franklin, the first thing that is one of the major requirements to do a call where you actually shoot deer with sharpshooters is you need to have an open space area of a minimum of 5 acres, okay? So we don't have 5 acres anywhere in the village other than that village green behind us in the cemetery. And I'm pretty sure that residents are not gonna wanna see sharpshooters in the wide open, not to mention there really aren't deer in those areas other than a little bit in the cemetery. So we don't really have an area to do a literal call, okay? So that sort of took that a little bit out of the equation, and when I communicated that to Brian, he was like, okay, now we could certainly give an ear of support if that's how we truly support it. We could look into our own way of sharing in it would be we could invest in some type of a sterilization so that while our surrounding neighbors, who clearly, if they're doing a call, will have an impact on us if in general the population of deer is reduced. So we did not ignore it. We completely looked into it and do not have anywhere in the village of Franklin that really qualifies for an appropriate call where it would be safe from residents and houses. I mean, Livonia's got 3 golf courses and like 20 parks. Southfield's got 10 different parks. Farmington's got Heritage. We're not even in the same ballpark as them. To the extent we have residents and we have a relationship with Farmington Hills or anyone at the country club that would maybe allow that to take place in the winter when their residents aren't there, or their members aren't there, and we could lend in that regard, sure. But this has not gone ignored. We totally researched it, and as you know, we don't meet the requirements for a call. So all we could do is lend support. We could lend financial support as well. These are things that could be discussed. Our surrounding communities have not asked us for that support. Their tax bases, I don't even know how many times more than ours. So that's the update on it. And we were beginning to, infrastructure was even gonna start looking at what's the process of sterilization, how does that go about? But we cannot really approve a call here because it would prove fruitless. So I hope that answers a good amount of the questions, and to let you know that no, we did not ignore the subject matter whatsoever. Okay? And that's all I have. So now I'll leave it to each of you. Start with Abby.
Yeah, so we do have a lot of vacancies in the village to fill. And so I just wanted to give a quick and massive thank you to the both of you for the amount of time and hours you spent during work hours, during weekends, during times with your family. And I know I've not personally been able to give as much time as the both of you, so I just wanted to say a thank you to how much work this has been for you, for Chief, for Heather being involved in this. It does not go unnoticed, and I know that we will fill these vacancies quite soon. In fact, I know we'll be talking about one later, so just a thank you from me to both of you.
You're
for how much
welcome,
work
and
has
thank you.
been
You've
done.
been more helpful than you might think, so.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Start with Dan.
I just wanted to speak to Mr. King's comment briefly about the crosswalks and let you and everyone else here know that this is still an ongoing issue we're working on. And in fact, the infrastructure committee is meeting on Wednesday of this week to discuss this very topic. So to be continued, more information to share soon.
Yeah. I was absent from the last council meeting as we were wrapping up summer for the kids and wanted to do a quick family trip. But I did watch the entire council meeting and wanted to take an opportunity to address certain comments that were made during public comment last month in responses to those comments and other comments from the council. Last month, a resident, Ron Ream, I believe his wife was here today, made certain comments asserting the belief that two people of the same household, each elected by the people, should not be permitted to serve on a government body together. The council's response is that there is no law that prohibits it. I'll clarify. It is quite the inverse. There is no law that prohibits it because that law would be unconstitutional under both the Michigan Constitution and the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution we all swore an oath to not only uphold but to further. We as public officials have a responsibility to champion the Michigan and U.S. constitutions, and it's a disservice to our community when we don't correct and educate calls for unconstitutional actions. A failure to do so emboldens the marginalization of the class of people the Constitution was designed to protect. This is not just lip service from me. I want to remind this body that the very month prior, a resident called for Trustee Seltzer to be removed because he was no longer a landowner in Franklin and is thus not eligible to serve as a trustee under the village charter. I was the first to stand up and say I would not entertain the removal of Trustee Seltzer simply because he was not a landowner in Franklin. Not out of defense of Trustee Seltzer, but in defense of the Constitution and against the abhorrent concept that only landowners should be afforded the right to serve as an elected official. But I do want to address potential alleged perceptions that Trustee Salaka and I could pose as a voting bloc. I performed a data analysis based on the voting patterns of how each trustee votes in relation to each other. When analyzing the data based on the current council, Trustee Salaka is the council person that I voted least consistent with. That was a shocker to me. Not only that, but for Trustee Salaka, she votes more consistently with Trustees Ferris, Gates, and Goldberg than with me. The highest consistency in voting was between, and Abby, sit down for a second, Trustee Seltzer, Trustee Gates, and Trustee Goldberg, who have voted 100% consistency. So what does the data show? The inverse of the allegations. There is no impartiality. There is no deviation in voting patterns. And my belief is that this narrative concerns Trustee Salaka, the concerns regarding Trustee Salaka and I serving together is being manufactured to attack Trustee Salaka. To the point, Ron, who is friends with trustee Seltzer, has known or should have known for years that trustee Salaka and I are married. It was actually trustee Seltzer who introduced trustee Salaka and myself to Ron at the library's Oktoberfest. And seemingly, our marriage has never been an issue until trustee Salaka started voting against interests trustee Seltzer was passionate about. We need to learn to disagree as a council and as a community, respectfully and directly, so that we can have the hard yet meaningful and substantive conversations, not through whisper campaigns, not through thinly veiled attacks on council members asserting false narratives. And in the spirit of direct conversations in an effort to be better, I want to react to the heart-wrenching statements made by trustee Gates and the subsequent response or non-response of the other council members. Trustee Gates recounted a pattern of hostile behavior directed toward her by trustee Seltzer. Trustee Gates recounted 3 incidents. Trustee Seltzer yelling at trustee Gates to shut up. After a council meeting, trustee Seltzer confronted a woman in the audience who had made public comments condemning his behavior. Trustee Seltzer engaged in the confrontation, resulting in the resident breaking down in tears, to which trustee Gates jumped in and separated Mike from the resident. Which then becomes to the third point. Rather than apologizing that night, trustee Seltzer texted trustee Gates, sexualizing her by making inappropriate analogies and a perceived threat that someone might start a rumor that she is a sex worker. Silence would have spoken volumes, but the only statement in reaction to Abby's statement was, "I need to breathe for a second." The oxygen kind of just blew out of the room. No condemnation of trustee Seltzer's behavior, no condolences for the hostile behavior that Abby has endured, just a statement that she sucked all the oxygen out of the room. Trustee Gates, I'm sorry. I can't imagine how defeating it felt, and probably still feels, for people to be vulnerable about behavior that is patently inappropriate, and for that vulnerability to be entirely dismissed. It is not lost on me that you left off the incident that occurred during your first council meeting when you were sharing your perspective about a matter that trustee Seltzer disagreed with. He got up while you were talking, came back into the room, got water, came back into the room, and walked around looking at things on the wall while you were talking. This behavior is hostile, it is targeted, and it is intentional. What message are we sending our residents? Because trustee Seltzer's response to hearing trustee Gates was, you either sit back and you take it, or you attack back. So that's what he did. Are we always going to go out and look for justifications for our next bad act? Or are we going to stand up for what's right? We collectively need to get better, but this pattern of behavior is objectively out of line. President Goldberg, I have continuously praised you for your leadership and expressed my confidence in your ability to lead the council, as I am doing again today. And we will need your leadership more than ever. To all council, I hope our ambitions are growth as individuals for the prosperity of our community, and not an eye for an eye for the survival of ourselves. That's regarding that. Additional observations, and I know it was long-winded, but I do feel that it was meaningful. Other things that I'd like to bring up is that one of the business owners discussed public parking. I believe we have our largest lot behind the bank, but I don't know how many residents actually know that. So I'd like to consider, I don't know if we need a motion on it, but having a sign acknowledging the public parking in the back, and we can make it in line with the Historic Commission's directives. But I think that would help to alleviate some. I think most people believe that that parking would belong to the bank, so I think that would be helpful. The other thing is I want to also acknowledge the additional savings related to the printing. I know last week other trustees had the opportunity to thank Carl for not only his giving back to the community in physical machines, but also the services as a whole. Next, I would like to consider setting aside funds or just going through the process of providing a plaque or certificate to Sophia. I believe that her internship has ended, but with the great work that she's done, I think that a token of appreciation would be in order. And then, as always, I want to thank everyone who has stepped in and fulfilled a lot of the vacancies within the administration of our government. You continuously impress us and are appreciated, so thank you. And Chief, even outside of your role of sitting in as acting administrator, I want to commend your commitment to always coming up with new ideas. I know when you had previously talked, last month when you talked about the opportunity to take advantage of a partnership for wholesale pricing on gas. And then again, with the grant that you talked about today, your constant commitment to looking at where we can improve and what opportunities we can seize is always appreciated. And again, just want to commend you for all your efforts.
Thank you.
For sure. Anyone else? Pam?
You know, I want to echo the comments that you and David made to thank the staff. We have worked hard this month on some back of the house things like writing job descriptions, standing up a website, interviewing, scheduling. All of that is hard work, and I just want to call out Heather's efforts as well as yours, Chief, and Janice for holding down the fort. She took on responsibilities that is above her pay grade, really, and she has done really, really well, and she's as happy as I've ever seen her. And I think that's because of the two of you. So thank you very much for that. She's a valuable person, but her life is good at work now. And I want you to know we see it. I also want to thank the FCA for an amazing roundup again. The parade was really fun. Warren has learned not to rely on any of us to find our name badges from the last year. He just reorders them. They're all fresh and beautiful, and I think it works really well, so I'm grateful to Warren for that. And finally, I know that Jane Poland has run the art show for years. I think she's trying to find some heirs for that. And I want to acknowledge that, and while we're, to our viewers, you know, let's support Jane and find somebody or a group of people who will take that on. There are big shoes to fill. And it's a wonderful show. This show this year, I think, has exceeded the last 5 or 6 years. I don't know why or what she did or what you all did differently, but it was a really nice art show. And I'd encourage anyone who in the village that's interested in running an art show to talk to Kathy or the board members or Jane directly about learning to do that and ultimately taking it on. So thanks very much again.
Angelina?
Yeah, thanks. I'll start with the deer issue since you mentioned it. So Goldberg and I think all of council was CC'd on an email about deer sterilization. I asked Goldberg if he minded if I worked with the resident who offered the research. He said, no, go ahead. And this resident is working to set up a call between me and the project manager, Robert McGee, of the Ann Arbor Sterilization Project. So if anyone else would like some of that research and be on this call, she hasn't organized the call yet, but to David Goldberg's point, we are researching options that would be viable in Franklin. But thank you everyone for coming, and I know that resident was like, this isn't organized, but even if it was organized, we like it because public comment is where we learn what issues matter to you, so thank you for sharing. To Mr. John Simon, I know that the FOIAs you received paint the picture that I'm sure everyone wanted you to see, but you know, what you didn't see was all the text between Meg and I about how appreciative she was for me to be on council, how she was so thankful that I stood up for her when she felt discriminated against for being a loud blonde and having another young woman in her 30s, how we would text back and forth and have coffee dates regularly in the office, how we had maintained a relationship for the past 3 years when she left, how, you know, when she got married, I brought her a wedding gift, how I organized the Christmas breakfast for all of the staff. we're friends. So, you know, the FOIA letters that you received and the resignation letters, that's the picture that was painted on her way out. That wasn't our relationship. We texted regularly. We lamented about all the work that we had to do. We spoke about networking in Detroit and Oakland County. We knew a lot of the same people. We've done a lot of the trainings. I got selected for the same women's female cohort that she did. We were very similar. So, you know, if you'd like to see, you know, our relationship before it was a, you know, FOIA requested public smoke and mirrors campaign, happy to share it with you. The woman who brought up the ethics, just to elaborate on that point, I think it's actually pretty impressive that she didn't know who I was married to, because that shows that you really can't tell impartiality. Also, before I even took an oath to office, we had put certain measures in place that might not be visible or even known, but I sit on a completely different end of the table from my spouse. We're not in the same committees. Any communication that the president has with me, he also has to deliver it to every trustee equally. We don't speak for each other. We've never spoken for one another. I get commonly confused that Dan's my husband. Abby gets commonly confused that she's married to Trustee Sally. And we have totally different conversations with people in the village at all times. And there will be times where even village staff say, well, didn't you hear, didn't your husband tell you? It's like, no, we don't talk about this stuff. And so there are lots of measures in place, but regarding, you know, conflicts of interest, there are a lot of conflicts of interest that are important to address, including financial conflicts of interest that never get disclosed, never get, never have votes recused. And that's just the way that Franklin has run, frankly, and it's upsetting. But, you know, there are things that should be disclosed, like when someone represents you in a transaction, you should disclose that before you appoint them to a committee, before you make a motion. If you have a business relationship with a resident and then you ask that resident to perform work for the village, making sure it's given to the village and a fair market value. Those are the things that municipalities and governments really work to prevent and disclose, so there's transparency with all the transactions. But those are things that create conflicts of interest. But again, you know, you've come up here many times and criticized me, and what I've done is I was the first one to make a motion for you to be an alternate to zoning. So I have no bad blood. I think it's awesome that you come to all these meetings and share your thoughts. But I just wanted you to know that Meg and I have a relationship that wasn't what you saw in those letters. I think that was the last of the, okay, so now for my public comments, apologies, I wrote them on my phone again. So yeah, in the previous meeting, of course, watched the whole meeting. I love everyone that came up and gave their opinions. I know that the FOIA requests regarding the resignation letters were what was the highlight of the public comment. The behind the scenes obviously was different. But if you recall and you look at the meetings, you know, I'm the one that ensured we delegated power to have the village staff approve event permits outside of these public meetings. I asked for it to be on the agenda. I made a motion, so I was like, Meg, you can do this by yourself. She's like, yeah. So that way events that happen in between meetings don't have to wait 30 days. Like, for example, the Judaic event permit. It was submitted and approved within one meeting, so that way we didn't have to call a special meeting. Things like the village staff charging the Franklin Community Preschool to use the Krieger House. They asked me, I said, why are you paying for that? You're a community group. Well, just like the Historical Society doesn't pay for it and the FCA don't pay for it, but the Franklin Community Preschool didn't know anyone in the office, so they got charged for rentals. So these are the things that I would email about, or that the emails on the website were 3 years old. And so everyone who submitted public comment for the last 3 years to the emails, those never saw the light of day. So these are the things that, you know, Meg and I were working together on and improved for the village. Those are obviously the things that you don't see. You know, you see that, you know, I'm bossy, or I'm assertive, or I ask questions that make others feel uncomfortable. But it's just, I'm curious. And, you know, it's gotten me really far in life. And I don't intend to, you know, stop asking questions, because we answer to the public. So no one should be afraid to answer a question. It's okay to not know the answer, to research it, and we say all the time, we're gonna get back to you. But I think asking questions and finding gaps and innovative ways, like, you know, Chief has, to streamline processes in the village, it's what we're supposed to do. And it's not toxic, it's not, you know, being difficult, it's having a fresh perspective and being open-minded to new leaders in this village. And, you know, the thing I regret most about missing 4 days this summer in Franklin is not being here last meeting. When Trustee Gates spoke about that awfully verbally abusive text that she got from Trustee Seltzer. If you recall, Trustee Seltzer and I had a great relationship up until I didn't vote with him on the appointment process because I was adamant that Trustee Ferris was more qualified than the other candidates. And that really turned the page for our relationship for the past 5 years. But he supported me on council, and he always loved when I brought him coffee, you know, but now that I sit on this side of the table and I share power with him, and I am supposed to be respected to the same degree, it's threatening. And it's clear that, you know, Trustee Gates and I have been the victims of this misdirected anger. We both got invited to be on his Franklin show. We both said no. He reached out to Abby during her campaign. She didn't want to engage with him. He asked if we could campaign together. I said, no, I don't want to run as a slate. He asked me to take my signs down off people's homes that didn't support him. I said no. So, you know, when someone gets rejected so many times, it's easy for them to take that frustration and anger out on the people that have caused that. So I just want everyone who's watching to know, you know, you've seen the council meeting today. No one interrupted public comment. No one made a response. There was no grandstanding. It was a well-run council meeting. And, you know, President Goldberg has always run the council meetings to the best of his ability. But when you have someone sparking that kind of anger towards the young female trustees on council, it's life-sucking, and it does suck the oxygen out of the room. But, you know, we're here to say that everyone should be represented, and no one should be mistreated. Not a council member, not a resident, not a staff member. So I would just like to say that, you know, it's not what you see in the 25 minutes of the village council meetings don't reflect the reality. And if you want to know more, you know, feel free to stop me after a council meeting. Thank you.
Okay. A lot of council report and not much reporting. So, I'm obliging everybody full amount of time to get things off their chest right now. Let's try and focus now moving forward on the village of Franklin business and not on our own personal business. Address a couple things that have been said, particularly from Trustee Sally. David, I understand the optics of nobody saying anything after Abby had raised her or told everybody else about what transpired, but, and Abby will tell you that from within moments of when it took place, and she contacted me about it, I have been in communication with her about it, we've discussed it, I've discussed it on numerous occasions with trustee Seltzer. I have played devil's advocate on discussions on both sides with them, so it did not go unnoticed. I didn't make it public for everyone. I prefer to operate that way, but I operate different than other people. So, just so you know, it was not gone, it did not go in silence. I do apologize to you, Abby, that I didn't say anything at the meeting when you raised it, but you know where I stand on the issue. So, I am sorry for that. The parking situation, David, I'll check into it. I'm not sure the back of Comerica is public. I would love it to be.
It's not.
We have a parking plan that has it be, and we would love them to participate. Yeah, and I have had some dialogue with Jay. I pointed him to the dentist office that has some parking areas in the back to see if they could work with them, since he hasn't had luck with some of the other neighbors. But I don't think we can just tell him to do that.
Okay.
And then as far as Sophia, yeah, I mean, we've already asked Sophia on a paid basis to help with minutes. I was talking with Chief today. We will put something together, whether it's a gift, you know, a special tribute, or even a financial stipend, but the work she did was amazing, and thank you for recognizing that. Okay, Stuart.
Can I?
Oh, forgot about you.
Sorry.
No, Stuart.
Sorry, Stuart.
Chief, the administrator, and thank you again. I love your reports. They're wonderful.
So first of all, on behalf of the team, which is Stephanie, Heather, Genevieve, Sophie, thank you for the council's support. You guys have been unbelievably supportive. I think we've made some progress as a team. We've been trying to report on it. But really, even though I seem like I'm the face of the team, it's each individual has done so much to make us successful, and nobody more than Heather, who's today is her last scheduled village council meeting. And, you know, she has a full-time career, which she's very good at. She's very successful. She barely has time for that, as well as being the social media coordinator for the police department. But yet, there's some nights that she is here till 11 o'clock at night for the village, for all of you. So we appreciate your support, and we certainly appreciate you, Heather, for everything that you've done. You've been absolutely amazing. So thank you. That's it for me.
All right, no, and Chief, I was gonna say something as well to Heather. I didn't wanna steal your thunder, but yes, Heather, the last month, just having you back has been amazing, remembering how awesome it was when you were here. Your ability to take initiative on things, the things you've uncovered for us in the course of the last month that we'll now move forward fixing, and our new clerk will have some projects ahead of them. The way that you have left a booklet for our new clerk to come in and take over, you have just been amazing. It's been so pleasurable working with you again, and you have, again, gone above and beyond like you always did, and we really do appreciate you, and thank you for everything. Stuart.
Yeah, I'm happy to delay for those comments, so, because I definitely agree with them. So for Planning Commission, we had a meeting last month. We went ahead and requested a public hearing with regards to the R3 district. There's some easements and setbacks that we're proposing to recommend to council, but we want the public to hear about it. So please come next week to our Planning Commission meeting on Wednesday next week. I think we're done in scheduling conflicting village events to the Planning Commission meetings, so hopefully we'll have a better turnout. But yes, please, if you have an interest in the R3 Historic District and the easements that we're applying to accessory buildings and structures in the R3 District, please come and find out about it, listen to us, tell us your opinion mostly, because that's what the public hearing is for. Please come. And then further down below on your agenda, you have an item which we passed on, which is the report back with regards to blight and nuisance and blight. And where we're covered, where we're not covered, what we need to do to improve it. Hopefully you've had enough time to look it over. If not, then happy to discuss more about it as well. So those are the main 2 points that I wanted to bring up.
Okay, awesome.
So, cool.
Got questions for Stuart?
All right.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to thank you for sharing the written memo from McKenna. That was kind of what I was trying to bring up in the beginning, like having the actual work product of the consultant that we commissioned to do the service is like super helpful, so we could read it. I mean, a lot of us on here are attorneys, we like to read and analyze ourselves.
So all those memos are put in the packet that are on the village website. When we receive them, they're posted, receive them around the same time that everyone else does. So if you don't feel like you're getting it fast enough, then you can always look at our packets from the previous month.
Yeah, no,
you'll have a month to look
appreciate
at
that
it.
was in the council packet, because
Okay.
I don't go to
Okay.
the planning commission meetings.
Well, but no, I'm saying if you want to read it offline, you can too. It's on there. So
Okay, thank you.
is that what it?
Yeah, that
Oh,
was-
sorry. Yeah, cool.
Thanks, Stuart. Anything from Mark? Anything from Main Street?
Good
sir.
afternoon, good evening, and I want to thank you for allowing me to be here before you today. Main Street had a few things happen this month. We were, Main Street DTE event went very well, and it was a quick turnaround. I think next year we'll have more time to make more planning, to get more done, get more sponsors, get more support, so it went very well. As the Main Street event progressed, what we've been able to do is get the support of all the groups within a village. We had the support of historical, we had support of FCA, we had the support of all the groups. They all came together, as well as all the businesses came together to support the Main Street event with the DTE event. DTE came in and sponsored close to $10,000 worth of the food. So they paid for almost $10,000 worth of the food, as well as we had a sponsor came in as well to help with other parts of the event. So the event came pretty much a wash for us. So as far as it went, the people came, we got out, we advertised as hard as we could, we pushed as hard as we could. We reached out to the community, we reached out to the businesses. We focused in on the businesses specifically to let them know that they were there, invited, and we offered them tables, and they set up, they came, and it was a very good event in that every table had someone at it at all times. No one was just left alone, standing alone. So it was a very successful event for the businesses on Main Street in Franklin. So we were very happy with the way that went and the way it progressed down the road. Since we've been president of Main Street here, and I think I mentioned it a few times, our mailing list has gone from 5 to roughly 50 now. So when I'm gonna reach out to roughly 50 people in the business district, the lawyers, the businesses, everyone that's involved. We don't exclude anyone. We get their opinion. We want to know what they're thinking. We want to know what they're doing. We walk the street, talk to the people, find out what's there. We follow up with another walk with the street to find out to get what they want and what they're looking for. And we found it to be a very positive, we get a lot of positive feedback as well as some negative feedback. Some people don't really think it's going to go, but you're going to get that no matter where you do. If you get 10 people, you get one guy who don't like it no matter what you do. So we get that one guy, we accept it and move on down the road. That doesn't stop the things, we keep it moving. And when we did when we came along with the round out, what's that thing called? We just did. What happened is, we talked with Kathy, we got together, and as Main Street, we're Main Street, but it was a FCA event, but we were more than happy to give every bit of support that we could. Next year, from what I can gather, hopefully, Kathy will allow me to bring in the support that we know to actually make it turn the profit that it should turn. There are ways that we know that we can work together to make it turn a profit to where it will be what we want it to be and grow at the same time as we reach out with the Main Street influence, the FCA influence, the Historical Society, and all of those things that we're coming together to get these things done as a village and as a group. We reach out to everyone, we don't exclude, we let everybody know what we're in the process of doing, and that's how we move forward. and our upcoming events, the Frankenstein or Frankenstein Frenzy. We're working on that. We're getting that going on, looking out for sponsors as well. We reached out to our marketing people. They have some ideas that we're going to look into. We have other marketing people that have some really good ideas when it comes to reaching out to promote what's happening in the village. And I think they're really good ideas that we need to explore and look into further, reaching into what's going on. As far as like, one of the options that I'm looking at and bringing to the board is that there's a company to where, let's say Jack Jones donates a bench to the village. So he donates a bench to the village. So when he does that, there's now a QR code where they can go, pull up the QR code, and it will give the history of the person that donated the bench, why they donated, what they did, how their life was impacted by the villages, why they did it. So now we got this little video that shows the people why they donated. And that's one of the things we're looking into as far as fundraisers and giving people other options as far as moving forward with Main Street Franklin. We have a lot of ideas, a lot of plans. We're gonna get Sip and Stroll, we're gonna get started on that, as well as working with the church. What we're trying to do at the church is we're gonna make that the Cyril's Hall a 503 by itself, to where it's now a place to where we can use as, and call it Franklin Community Center, to where now it'll be separated out from the church, its own 503 or whatever, where it'll pay rent to the church. But as we do that, now it's not part of the religious organization, it's just part of the building. So now we can use that and use it as different events, to where we've been approached at the church for different events they want to do there. And as part of Franklin, part of Main Street, we're looking to do that to move forward, to get the village to come together as a village. We've also reached out to the landlords as the parking for the restaurant. And I don't know if I'm overstepping my bounds or not, but what I've done is I've reached out to all the adjacent properties next to the restaurant, and I've talked to the landlords, I've talked to the owners, and what I've found out is that what they need is a minimum amount of space. And what I did was when I reached out to the Comerica Bank folk and they got back with me, what I suggested to them was the back space next to the wall be used for employee parking, and that freed up a lot of space for the restaurant to have their parking for the customers, where the employees are parking that hill back towards the fence. And what they said to me was that we have security, but if there's no problem, we don't see a problem. And they didn't want to do a lease because there'll be too many moving parts for that to be a lease. So when I reported back to the, I think it was Jay, I told him that would be okay, and so far it's been no problem with that. And it looks like it alleviated a lot of the employees now taking up spaces that the customers would use. From what, you can go out there now, it's probably 15, 20 cars packed up, back up in there, but it's all employee stuff. So it freed up the space for the customers to park. And I stressed that they should not park in front of none of the stores. When I spoke to the plaza, I spoke to them, and they said the only problem they had was that the employees were now parking in front of the stores to where now the customers can't get in. And I suggested do not park in front, use that in the back. So far, it's been working okay. I might have overstepped my bounds, but I was presented with a problem. I was looking for a solution, and I didn't want to give him excuses as to why nothing was getting done. And so far, it seemed to be working. I might go out there tomorrow and get shot in the foot 4 times, but the thing is, right now, it's a solution that's solving a problem that we're trying to address. The price point on the bank is astronomical. I don't see it moving anytime soon at that cost. I really, 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 really don't. And it might give us 6 months to a year at least to figure out other solutions to help the restaurant when it comes to the parking. And the biggest thing was, I looked at the place that was back over in the woods, in the dark, by the trees. There's no lighting. And because there's no lighting, now you got people have security issues. Where in the bank parking lot, there's lighting, there's security. People feel safe coming back and forth. And in my experience in life, people will always move where they feel safest. And that's what we want to do. We want them to feel safe when they park, employees. But again, that might be overstepping my bounds, and I do apologize if I did that. But when I go through the village and I talk to the people, I'm looking for solutions to their problems. What we've done is we've talked to the plaza The plaza has, is going to allow us now to come into the building and on their windows, in the building, the blank windows, come in and now put up, some kind of advertisement like your business could be here, and put up big posters and decorate the windows. When people drive by, they can look at that window and say, this will make a great cleaners, this will make a great ice cream place, this will make a great this. And that would be advertised as the window versus a for rent sign standing in the window all the time. So we've approached those guys and they're comfortable with it, so they're gonna let us do that as we move forward. But as far as Main Street goes, we got a lot going on, a lot of moving parts, a lot of good things are happening. And I want to, my goal is to bring the village together as a village. And a lot of the events that we've been doing, that's the field that I'm starting to get once again. And as we go about advertising to the different businesses, advertising to the resident, as we reach beyond our community to draw people in, to show that we are walkable, we are inviting, we are what they're looking for when it comes to bringing businesses in, as far as so many aspects of our village that we've been looking over for so long. And it's as when I talk to the church, I'll bring it to them and I'll say, our problem is a lot of times we look past the solutions looking for a solution. The solution is staring you in the face, but you don't like the way it's staring at you, so you walk past it looking for something else. Well, you can address it right there, move forward, and grow from that point. And I think I've droned on enough. I apologize.
One quick question.
Yes, sir.
Or just one thing to remind us of, when you're filling out the permit for the Franklin Sign Frenzy, I say this every year, be generous with the amount of time that you want the streets blocked off, and Chief, don't be mad at me, but at the same time, every single year when the kids are making their migration from from the businesses over to the pumpkin roll, I'm always biting my nails, being like, just hoping for their safety. So I think if there's an event where we see that volume of traffic for that age of people, kids, I certainly will support whatever your needs are, so.
Okay, I thank you so very much. I mean, take so much of time.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, before you leave, I want you to connect with Jeff. He's interested in joining Main Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're part of it, don't worry. You're there. Okay.
Good.
Mark, thank you for your initiative and for all of your support.
Thank you so very much. Anything I do, please let me know.
Perfect, thank you.
Is there any to-dos or anything that David needs to follow up on, or any of us need to follow up on regarding the parking situation with the restaurant?
Well, at this point, no news is good news.
Okay.
Because I haven't, since we've came up with that solution, that temporary solution, I've got nothing. I've got no grumbles, no complaints, no nothing. Like I said, that cleared up roughly 25 spaces around his restaurant, and that gave him the room, looks like what he needed.
Okay,
And
thank
like
you.
I spoke with the lady that's got the signs up all over the place, like, don't park here, you'll die, all that.
The lady, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, it's like, Jesus, Lord, come on, lady. Anyway, but we talked to her, and now she's out of the picture. It's not needed for her to be in the picture anymore. So
Oh,
we moved
okay,
on past her.
Got it, okay.
And we talked to the plaza, and the plaza is okay, again, as long as you don't park in front of the stores and block the customer's entrance.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Last, any liaison or any further committee reporting? You want me to give an update?
HR? You want to do HR?
Let me just do a quick update
Yeah.
of where we're at.
We should.
So, just for a quick update, so Abby, Pam, and I, together with Heather and Kurt, have been on the front of the 4 different jobs that we have. So, just so that, to give everybody an update, on today's agenda, the first 2 groups that we addressed were the clerk and the treasurer. Most particularly the clerk, because of Heather's timing, and we are on today's agenda hoping to take action on a clerk that the HR committee is very, very comfortable with and going to make a recommendation on. As far as treasurer goes, we had narrowed it down to 2 individuals that were very, very close. Each had positive qualities And that's what I added to the agenda. Something came up during our, the third phase of the process, which I'll explain in a second, which is the background check. Something came up that I want to ask, what we want to ask everybody about. We have completed our rankings of all of the administrator applicants. We've received 19 applications. We've all ranked them, and narrowed it down. Was what we've done was we received resumes. We reviewed all the resumes from a paper standpoint, ranked everybody in an order. From that ranking, identified which group, we separated into two groups, those individuals that should be interviewed and those that an interview wasn't warranted. And then after we went through interviews for the clerk and for the treasurer, which I'll describe in a minute, the third process is a background check. And then after the background check, you know, if we're still in a dilemma, we were gonna come back to council to see if council wanted to interview anybody. So we're done with treasurer and clerk. We're beginning interviews for administrator tomorrow. And pretty much so everybody that's asked for an interview has asked that it be confidential, why we've been keeping them that way, because they all have jobs. And we have also ranked our economic development directors. We've received applications for the economic development director as well, and we'll probably not start interviewing on those till maybe another week. We have to focus on the administrator first. So that's an update on where we're at, and a lot of good applications, and the two candidates that or the two positions we're discussing today, we have really strong candidates. So, we're gonna move into new business.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
Really
ahead.
quick, no one's here from the library, but the Oktoberfest is October 3rd, so it will be before the next council meeting. Tickets are on sale now. Oh yeah, you're on the Friends. Okay, maybe Heather will say something. But $75 a person. You can buy your tickets via Venmo. You don't need to bring cash. It's one of my favorite events of the year. It's put on by the Friends of the Franklin Library, which is their support group. There's raffles, there's a band, there's a tent, there's food trucks, there's music, there's police officer serving you wine. It's great. The whole community comes together.
They card you when they do the wine, right?
Yeah. I just say it's completely, it's a fundraiser. So all of the money goes back to the programming in the library. And it's just awesome. You don't have to be a Franklin resident to go. Invite your friends, send it out to your text threads. It's awesome. And I hope to see everyone there.
Awesome. You said 3rd?
October 3rd. It's always the first Friday of October, so if you want to put in your calendar for the next 5 years, you should do so.
Perfect, thank you for that.
6 to 9.
Yes.
Okay. All right, now we're on to new business. First item on our agenda is a proclamation. We receive this every year. The Daughters of the American Revolution ask us to recognize that the week of September 17th to the 23rd of 2025 is Constitution Week, the 225th anniversary of it. They asked that we read a proclamation and enter it into our official record. The proclamation is in our packet, so the first would be, can I get a motion in a second to declare the week of September 17th as Constitution Week, and then I will go ahead and read our proclamation.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Ferris, second from Gates to approve the week of September 17th as Constitution Week. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Whereas the Constitution of the United States of America embodies the principles of a constitutional republic and the liberties that it proclaims. And whereas September 17th, 2025 marks the 238th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this most important document and its memorable anniversary, and to the civic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States, designated September 17th through September 23rd as Constitution Week. Now therefore, I, David Goldberg, by virtue of the authority vested in me as the President of the Village of Franklin Council in the state of Michigan, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through September 23rd as Constitution Week, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution by protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, knowing that lost rights may never be regained. Now therefore, the Village of Franklin Council hereby proclaims September 17th through September 23rd as Constitution Week. All right, next is an item that's just kind of came a little out of nowhere in the sense of, I don't know if we had any prior discussions or anyone had mentioned it, but the Franklin Preschool is pointing out to us the significant amount of money which they spend each year maintaining and upkeeping the playground area, which all residents of Franklin tend to use, as well as residents of other communities. And we received a memo from Holly Bainham, who is, I don't know where she, but she works in the preschool. Oh, she's the administrative director, I'm sorry, Holly. And Holly wrote us a memo regarding the amount of usage and pointing out that in 2023 alone, they spent $18,100 on upgrades and removal of unsafe structures. And that based on state licensing requirements, they have to spend roughly $4,000 a year continually maintaining the wood chips, which I saw them out doing just the other day. And they have asked whether the village would consider an annual contribution to this. Something you had mentioned earlier, Angelina. This is coming from the preschool itself. I think Mark left. I don't know if the preschool is actually an affiliation of the church or they just rent space from the church. So I don't know if this is actually the church itself, but I'm.
No, it's not the church. They're a separate 501c3.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Early
So
childhood education.
This isn't the church itself asking. This is truly the preschool, which is apparently funding a lot of these operations. So.
Yeah, the church owns the playground.
Right.
And the building.
Yeah.
The preschool is asking, since it's the steward of the playground.
So, I'm assuming everybody's read their, their memo. They're asking for a lot on an annual basis. From what it looks like, the only obligation that they have every year, it tends to be this $4,000 number that goes to the wood chips. So if they were asking for $20,000 a year, they said, the balance would go into a sort of a reserve fund for future improvements and upgrades and maintenance. So the first is obviously a discussion amongst ourselves as to whether we should be contributing at all. And then the second part of the discussion would be to what extent would we, if we were in agreement to contributing, to what extent and how would any of this additional money that we would be giving to another body for future improvements, how would we have the ability to make sure that it found its way to those specific things, and how that, is there a, have they given us any idea? We, in a roundabout way of doing this with the fire department these days, and have a reserve fund for future equipment. So if they could give us an idea of what they anticipate costs being in the future, it would seem that just if an extra $16,000 a year building up in a reserve fund would build up a significant amount pretty quickly. And if improvements don't need to be done again for a while, I would hope that that reserve fund could get built maybe a little, from a little less amount on an annual basis. So I'm gonna kind of leave it up to, I'm gonna open it up to the floor to anybody who's got just general thoughts on the matter, and then we'll go from there. Abby, for sure.
Isn't there, I mean, there's a lot of trees that get knocked down in Franklin. Is there no way to secure some, like, and I've got neighbors who get free wood chips from trees that have been knocked down. They can request that the wood chips be distributed somewhere else. $4,000 feels a bit steep if we've never explored other options for that. So that's kind of like thought number one. And second is, because it's a community, it's a space that the entire community takes advantage of, couldn't we have like a volunteer day for maintenance, or have like a community-led opportunity for residents to maintain, or try to develop a coalition within the community in order to do something like that? It feels like that's a fairly generous contribution into an account right off the bat for a village that's already struggling with some, you know, some responsibility financially to adhere to a budget. So it feels a little steep to me without exploring other options.
My comment would be, that, oh, I'm sorry. were you
Oh,
gonna
no,
say?
sorry, I was just
Oh.
scratching.
The church owns the land, and I know that the FCA has donated, it's more than a little to maintaining the playground over the years. And it sounds like, based on the letter, that they're no longer able to do that. Is that what you're reading in this letter?
Well, they're just saying that what the FCA and the baseball league have been able to contribute in the past.
In the past,
Yeah, is
okay.
not enough to
Yeah.
be sustainable.
The $2,500 facade grant came from Main Street, because that's.
Correct.
That originates in Oakland County, but it's funneled through Main Street. So they've had contributions there as well. I'm kind of in a similar place to Abby. I'm reluctant to have the village, the taxpayers, start covering operating costs on other people's land and other people's equipment, even though I'm very much, and have participated in raising funds for the playground years ago. So I see the need for it. I'd rather look for something, maybe a contribution to a specific expense, as opposed to a subsidy, I guess.
Like, could we encourage, if a resident has a tree that's knocked down, and they're, you know, sometimes you're asked, what would you like to do with the tree once it's, you know, mulched down? Could we set up some sort of donation with tree services in the village in order to, like, donate that back to the village instead of paying $4,000 for wood chip mulch?
So what you're saying is puzzling to me, because some time ago, I do not know preschool regulations, but they did use rubber instead of wood chips, because wood chips gave slivers. And so what I'm wondering is if there's a regulation that dictates what material you can put on a playground. I truly, that's the extent of my knowledge about it, but I would cautiously, proceed with your solution, just because I just don't know what's acceptable.
Yeah, and I mean, topping up rubber mulch each year is not putting an entire new mulch bed in. Like, it
Right,
is just
yeah.
incremental increases.
Well, and she's talking wood, not rubber.
Yeah, so that's why
No. Yeah.
so, again.
Yeah, I think that's a question for them as to, is there some standard as to the type of wood chip? Or, could we just get a lot of our local landscape companies to, instead of taking it back to their yards, to, start a stockpile somewhere in the village that could be used for that. But we'd have to find out whether you could just put any old
Yeah,
wood chip in.
or also, what about advertising this at the Franklin Stein Frenzy? It seems like a perfect event to see whether, at least get some of this offset on an annual basis?
I know
Maybe some sort of
historically,
raffle.
when they, I think they did the most recent redo of the playground, there was a money raised and residents
Yeah.
contributed money, but that was probably 15 years ago.
Real quick question, trustee Salaka, was there any urgency, any time frame in which they needed it? The reason that I'm asking that is, I'm wondering if this would be something more appropriate that we refer to the infrastructure committee to continue the dialogue, right? To see what are the options, what are the restrictions around, because my initial thought was like, equally true, I'm sure there's regulations on everything.
Yeah.
Probably regulations on what you can put down for preschool, for mulching. And then again, can we sustainably move to like rubber mulching where it's going to be, long-term costs are gonna be less? My initial feedback on this proposal in general, is I do want to support them. I do believe that I don't wanna make a commitment to annual contributions. So any contribution I would want to be like a year by year, similar to what we do with like, for instance, Next, right? We kind of make a determination within the budget whether or not to allocate the resource for that kind of needed maintenance, or in this case, needed maintenance for a specific cost, as you were talking about, Pam. The other thing too is I just generally struggle with building up the reserves of somebody else when our reserves are depleting so quickly.
You can go now.
Just as a point, the Historic Society, which owns the museum on Kirk Lane, a few years ago, some of you will remember this, asked the village to contribute, I think it was, I don't remember how many thousands of dollars, to clear a path. You do, you remember?
$6,000.
How much?
6,000.
That was it?
That was what it turned out to be around that, yeah.
Okay, because the Boy Scouts did it.
Previously they had done it, yeah.
They wanted to build a walking path, and it was gonna require equipment and manpower more than they were able to rustle up with volunteers. The village declined, and the reason for that action was that there was not sentiment on the part of the council at that time to use taxpayer money to fund a not-for-profit that had money in the bank and had their own property, and there was no clear justification for it. So I think this is one thing I'd want to look for a recommendation. If this goes to infrastructure, it's going to become a policy issue and a budget issue, because there's no difference.
So completely agree with you, Pam,
Yeah.
in every sense.
It's just a precedent. We have to decide where we want to be.
Right, the one distinction that I would make, and I think we absolutely need to understand what do the reserves look like what is the need for it, but I would make the distinction that at the time that they were having the conversation around that pathway is that it really was located, I don't even know, the pathway I think was at that point overgrown and non-existent, whereas we're talking about something that is actively being used by the community. And so
It's a very big difference. I
Yeah,
agree
if they
with
put a fence around it and said only us, then that's a completely different story than active,
Yeah.
being able to use it.
I was just gonna add to what trustee Salia is saying. If it is enclosed off, not for public purpose, I don't think you have the authority to do so. If it's open to the public, it's a different story. I'd still like to research it. But if it's just for that preschool, I don't think you have authority to do it.
You mean just to clarify
No,
that
I
statement,
think
if access is only for the preschool, then we don't
I
have
think what
authority.
David is saying
It's
is,
not
if we
enough.
choose to turn a deaf ear on them, they can easily say, then fine, you don't need to use the playground anymore.
Okay.
Correct.
I'm not sure of the circumstances. Is it enclosed off? Is it just for the?
No,
No, it's
wide
wide
open.
It's
Right here.
completely
Oh,
open.
right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Okay,
is
I'm
like right there.
Most people don't even know it's not part of the church.
Correct.
Okay.
It's considered the little kid's spot in the
Yeah.
village.
Everything that she wrote in this letter is absolutely true about
Yeah.
how it's used.
Yeah.
I think the question is, so what I'm gathering from what we're saying is, it does not sound like this is an ask that is needed immediately, like have to take action today. If that was the case, I would have hoped for a little more lead time from them and a little more discussion. So I guess infrastructure committee is probably the one committee that's most appropriate to probably work with the preschool in getting answers to all of these questions. What is the requirements with regard to the type of sand and the type of mulch that is required? Can it be any day, any old stuff or specific? The $4,000 sounds like their one annual for sure obligation. What is their vision for future obligations? Did the $18,000 they spent 2 years ago, was that a short fix where there's gonna be another $18,000 in 2 years, or does that $18,000 fix gonna last 5 years so that we could, over the next 5 years, help them in building up some money if that's the case? So, I too don't wanna turn my ear on them, and definitely would like to see a way that we can contribute, being that we don't have a recreation department and the church and the FCA land serves as that for us, and to the extent we can be contributors, I would certainly like to look into that. Mark, you got some ideas on wood chips, I'm guessing, from your
The
business?
thing about the mulch, I will tell you, when you say you can get rid of the mulch and just dump it over here, you're gonna have logs, lunch bags, pop bottles, everything in that mulch. That's not clean mulch that these guys trim trees. The other thing is the rubber. There's a lot of toxicity because of what the rubber gives off. We've run into the issue with the AstroTurf polluting the water. So, I mean, your mulch, the wood mulch you buy from the locals is clean. It comes in clean, it's chipped. It might have a preservative on it, but it doesn't have all the logs, lunch. I mean, I've seen some of that stuff that's been dumped. And, I mean, that would cost them a lot more money to sort through that.
Okay, thank you,
Okay?
Mark.
Yep.
David, can I say something? Sorry. Just full disclosure, I used to have kids that go to this preschool, no longer, and I've never been on the board of the preschool. But Holly works the bake sale tent at Labor Day, and we discussed this at the roundup. But I think this reminds me of a lot of what we do with Next. I know when the Next representative came here, they said 72 people from Franklin used Next last year, and we gave $10,000, and that was 72 residents. I can tell you there's 72 people on my street that use the playground. To me, it's considered a community asset. I can't imagine not having a play structure in the village. It's open, inaccessible, more than the Krieger House, more than the barn, more than the tennis courts, more than the FCA gazebo. And to me, it's a community meeting spot. It's a place where families, it's where I met Abby, honestly, at the playground. We had matching strollers during the pandemic. And, it's a place that brings Franklin families together, and residents and dog owners and community groups and teenagers to play basketball. And so I think that looking at it as a community asset and looking at them as serving this hole that we have in our community of a park, a play structure, a safe place for kids to run around and explore the woods in the back and play on the trails and get to know the joy and the charm of Franklin. That's how I'm looking at it. And I think, the ideas of could they be more innovative with, how much they pay for mulch and all of that, I think that is helpful. But I also think that the wear and tear that the community puts on the play structure exceeds the wear and tear that their 10-kid class puts on it, playing on it 30 minutes a day for the 2 days a week those 3-year-olds are in school. It's a half-day preschool, that only has 30 minutes of recess, so like you have to understand, like, this is not a full-time boarding school, with kids that are there all day and they have 6 recesses. These are 2-3-year-olds playing in the sandbox. The majority of the use comes from the community, comes from people at the cider mill buying donuts and going there. There isn't really a place for people to sit and gather, and that's what this playground is for the community. So from that respect, I do think that, a donation for wear and tear maintenance of the equipment, along with their annual mulch expense, is warranted and justified and not a big ask, because we haven't given to them in the past. And contingent upon any legal conflicts being cleared, I would support it, but happy to take it up in subcommittee.
Just briefly, I think it's absolutely a community asset, and I'm certainly open-minded to offering some support from the playground. I think many people would assume that it is a municipal asset actually, and would be surprised to learn that it's actually privately owned. I think I have some of the same questions that President Goldberg raised about it, and in terms of what kind of support we would want to offer. I'd want to have some more questions answered first before coming up with a particular dollar amount. And I also think it would be sensible, as Trustee Solly mentioned, to refer it to the Infrastructure Committee so that we can get some more answers to those questions. And I think that would also allow time to explore some of the great ideas that Trustee Gates raised, and so that we can come up with a more comprehensive solution once we understand exactly what the needs are and how best we can support.
All right, so I think the 3 of you understand the questions that we've all raised. Why don't you go back, take the lead, and go back and get a couple answers on, the issues regarding the material that has to be used and what their long-term maintenance and upgrading program is. And once we have that information, then we can back our way into a number.
Is that a motion,
No.
President?
No, that's, I don't know if we have to have a motion on it. There are infrastructure committee, do we need a motion to have them do it?
Cleaner for the minutes, that you're given direction.
I would, yeah.
Okay, I'll go ahead. I'll make a motion that we ask the infrastructure committee to reach out to the Franklin Preschool to get additional information regarding the amount of monies needed, how much is needed on an annual basis, and whether they have a long-term plan on their upkeep of the equipment that we could use in determining what, if any, money we can contribute to them.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Angelina, thank you for working with Holly on that. Certainly not anything that I think we want to ignore. Let's just get a little more information and then do it appropriately, keeping in mind that we also have to represent the interest of all the citizens. Oh, we have more items.
Or you were gonna adjourn?
No, that was not. All right, clerk, consider Human Resources Committee recommendation for appointment of a village clerk. So, you want me to take the lead on how we got here, and then I'll let you guys discuss
Sure.
the candidates themselves? So just as, I briefly did it, I'm gonna focus just on the clerk. So, we posted, job postings on the website, on the MML, and on our Facebook, page. And from that, we received 13 actual written applications. So from those 13 applications, we each independently rate them from 1 to 13 as far as from just what their resume and their cover letter and their application told us about themselves. We use that to give us an idea of where the line is on who should get interviews and who shouldn't. And when we've done this on each of them, the line becomes fairly obvious, where from each of our rankings. A handful of people are at the top. There might be someone's 2, might be someone else's 4, or someone's 3, might be someone's 2. But it was there was usually a good separation. So on the clerks, there was a clear separation of 5 individuals that we felt warranted interviews. So we reached out to all 5 of those individuals and asked them to come in for interviews. Of the 5, one of them, from between when we asked them to come in for an interview, actually I think that occurred at the same time, when we reached out to ask them if they wanted to come in for an interview, they informed us that they had just taken a job for an application they had elsewhere, so that individual was eliminated. And then the fourth individual was given a time, asked to come in at that time. We reached out to him several times to confirm that he was coming in. He never responded to the confirmation. We sat here for the hour that he was supposed to be here, and he never came. So at the end of the day, we interviewed 3 candidates, all of whom were very strong candidates. Those individuals are in the packet that we gave you, and which is also in the agenda packet. I've sanitized their names, but identified them as applicant 1, applicant 2, and applicant 3. So of these 3 individuals, applicant number 1, we had a nice interview with. This individual had a lot of experience. Their history, their past, as you can see, their current job is in the city of Ann Arbor. As we've come to learn in this process of having employees in our own village, big cities like Ann Arbor that have way bigger tax bases and way more people that live there can pay their deputies and assistant deputies more than we can even pay some of our full-time employees. And the volume of their jobs is also reflected in that. So for this individual, we had a nice interview with him, and he was one of our strong candidates, but at the end of the interview, he found it the appropriate time to tell us. First of all, going in, we knew he was challenging. The position, we posted it from $70,000 to $75,000. He's currently making $88,000 in his current job, and at the interview informed us that while he still was, showed us the courtesy of coming to our interview, that he had already received an offer for more than we were offering, and we took that into consideration when we made our decision. But it was pretty clear that economically we were not going to be able to meet this individual's needs. Applicant number 3, we met with this individual. They were a super personable person. They are working in Harper Woods as a deputy clerk, and unfortunately working in a situation where they're not getting the support and the education and the growth that they need from their clerk. And although they were really nice to meet and we enjoyed the time, they definitely do not have the background and the experience yet to be a full-time clerk. And I think we even suggested that she reach out to the municipality of the person that we're gonna make a recommendation on and see what they think that they might need a new deputy clerk, and she could maybe get a better education there, because the individual that we would like to
We
recommend.
really liked her, but.
She was wonderful. She was fun, and even admitted that she kind of knew that she probably wasn't fully qualified, but she's on her way, and we enjoyed the time with her. The individual that we'd like to recommend, Abby participated on Zoom. Pam and I were there at the meeting.
I caught up with him after the fact.
Although,
I
I'm
talked to
sorry,
him
you're
on the
right,
phone.
that was,
Yeah,
I apologize. Abby had a prior engagement for the date of his interview. He interviewed with Pam and I. He just knocked it out of the park. He's the deputy clerk in Northville. From every answer he made, he was spot on. He answered the questions the way we asked them without sidestepping them. He's hiring on to be a clerk. He showed up at our interview and had already read our charter. Hold on, there were three things. Read our charter, watched our last meeting, and done one other item of preparation. It's slipping my mind that we were just like,
I never recovered from his,
we were
I
like,
watched your last meeting. yeah.
seriously. And he even watched our last meeting, which was one of our colorful meetings.
What month?
Well, it was last month's. And to answer some of the questions that Mr. Simon answered, that we have, to be honest with you, everybody knew about our situation that we interviewed. Not one of them did not know. One of them was even was a referral of our prior clerk. So that individual had firsthand knowledge. We were transparent, we were truthful, we explained it to them. None of them felt that it was an issue. I think everybody enjoyed their interviewing time. So this individual was just really strong in the interview. Just to give you some background, they're the deputy clerk in Northville. They carry on a lot of things, including some downtown development background.
Can you expand on the Day of the Dude? I see this on the resume, and I didn't get a chance to talk to him about that, but what is the Day of the Dude?
Oh, where is that?
An
Oh,
experiment of
social
the
media
Northville
engagement
thing.
for, including proclamations for Day of the Dude, public notices. I don't know, we're gonna have to ask him that. That might be something,
We need to frame
something
it.
hip in Northville.
Yeah.
But, he has, a good background of clerking. In Northville, his clerk assigned a lot of duties to him. If you look at some of, his background and,
Historical preservation,
yeah, I mean,
has a degree in history and political science.
yeah.
He knows web
He
design,
was a
he's,
docent, I
he can do media, he can write.
Yeah,
you know.
he wrote for newspapers. He has a huge historical background to him, which I know people in the village will take kindly to. He was personable. And then Abby had an opportunity to speak to him directly, and I'll let Abby speak to that and Pam speak to it as well. As far as I'm concerned, honestly, this one was sort of like Chief's interview. It was like, okay, now what? Who's really gonna do better than that? So, you know, we left you the resume. This individual is literally ready to put in his 2 weeks' notice tomorrow morning, and really was excited when I reached out to him and told him that he was our #1 choice. We had posted the job at $70,000 to $75,000. Unlike the other individual, he's currently making only 58 right now, so this will be a nice raise for him. Based on our discussion amongst the three of us, we concluded that if he had already received his clerk certification, that we would have offered him $72,500, which would have been in the middle of our pay grade. He does not have that yet, so in discussions with him, he was agreeable to a starting salary of $71,000, with an understanding that if at any time during his employ, he receives the appropriate certifications and accreditations, that we would increase his salary at that time by $1,500. Yep.
Would we be able to support his training to become a certified clerk through MML?
Didn't we have trouble managing that last time? Like it was who's going to manage like the process of tracking certification, setting timeframes? Wasn't there an
No, I was just,
expectation that
I know that because I was working with MML a month ago, but when I was on their website, they certify clerks. And it's like a one-time thing, and then,
Oh, okay.
you know, it's kind of like getting a project management certification. I'm just interested because I know that though he clearly keeps up to date with this training, and I don't want to be an employer that doesn't invest in training and continuing education and skills. So at some point, if he did want some training or supplement, just like we kind of do, tuition reimbursement, you know, we would
The council's obliged to supporting him in whatever cost there might be in obtaining that certification,
What is
of
the
course
cost?
we
Do you
would.
know?
By the, yeah, I would, I'll reach out to him.
Yeah, I'm just saying, just like
He'll be
you
in
sent
here
someone to conference,
If we're
you know.
comfortable with him.
Oh, I think what we did
take
last
that
time
action.
was say that it had to be done within 2 years. Was that how this was set
Well,
up last
that
time?
was-
And then we have a,
We made that was one of Heather's,
got it.
And it was during 2020.
things.
So like everything was operating at 50% capacity. I couldn't even get into anything.
She could, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But we do have provisions for that in the clerk budget. It's
Yeah.
already allocated, and it runs through like the Oakland County Clerk
Right,
Association,
correct.
et cetera, which is coincides with the Michigan, and all of it kind of works together, so.
And I
believe
think
the
it's
2-year
supplemented
process,
too.
He has to attend regularly, and then there's tests and.
So this is his initiative, if he decides to do it, rather than our directive?
Oh, yeah, he would
Okay.
have to.
100%.
Got it.
Yeah, if
Okay.
you- yeah, I mean, we would like him to be certified.
Yeah.
But-
And as MML members, he would get a discount on the training even.
Yeah, we
Okay.
decided when we wrote the job description not to require it as a coming in thing, but we said we
Yeah.
strongly encourage you to do that. What we've learned since is that a lot of the clerk certification is about elections, which we don't run here, even though we expect our clerks to support Southfield Township. So I feel very comfortable with the carrot that David's offered. The other thing is that I think one of the things I liked about him is that he seemed to have the skills that we ask our clerks have a very broad job. And he looks like a junior Heather to me, in a way. You know, that's what I liked about
Not
him.
physically.
Not physically.
No,
What?
no, Heather doesn't have a mustache.
No. But in terms of, you know, a broad range of skills, can step into about any task. We are really short on people who are literate about communications and writing and marketing, social media. He can fill some of that void. So that was really attractive to me, that made him a good candidate for this office at this time.
I saw the same thing Pam did. Like when I read these resumes over the weekend and you put 1, 2, and 3, I thought those were your rankings. And I was like, but I like number 2 better. And it was like, I'm gonna defer to the HR committee, but number 2 has a really good resume. What I liked is all the social media website management, because for the audience that doesn't know, the clerk is responsible for maintaining the website, sending out the weekly newsletter, communications, records management, obviously minutes, agendas, but basically the written word of the village. And so, and interacting with constituents. So the outreach that he's done, the wearing of multiple hats, which everyone can attest to is like the Franklin secret sauce, is really something that I support. The only question I have is, did he provide any references and have you called?
Oh, yeah, so, yeah, and that's part of our next discussion. So, yes, after the recommendation stage and the interview stage, we didn't, because there's money associated with it, when it came down to the clerk in particular, we basically said, and just go do a background check on this person. His background check came back clean.
No issues.
And then Justin, Sergeant Wells, took the lead on reaching out to all of the candidates that we interviewed, 3 references, and his references came back wonderful as well. I played phone tag with his current boss, but she was in full support of him leaving and him in improving his career. She wasn't going anywhere. I believe she's an elected official anyway, so that's part of the issues when we're dealing with a lot of treasurers and clerks that are out there that have experience. A good portion of them are elected officials and can't just leave their jobs. So that's why deputies aren't in that role. So yes, his backgrounds and references checked out stellar. I'll give everyone his name after we decide to take action on it. So unless we have any further discussion, is anyone willing to make, actually, you know what? I had said I was gonna do it this way only because we haven't found our charter amendment section. So I'm gonna, whether I was supposed to appoint this individual and you guys approve them, or it was supposed to be a motion and a second, I'll do both, as I will make a motion to hire, on the economic terms that I mentioned earlier, candidate number 2 to be the next clerk of the Village of Franklin, starting in 2 weeks. Second. So motion by Goldberg, second by Solly. No further discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, so this gentleman's name is Evan Mylan. He works in Northville, he lives in Ypsilanti. We talked to him about the drive, he was totally fine with it, he said he's done it a couple times. This guy's, he comes prepared. He said he told me he had done it a couple times, at a couple different times a day. I really like this guy.
What was it, like 38 minutes?
He said it was between 30 and 40, depending on the time of day.
I've done the drive.
Yeah, we've all probably done it. So, he was totally on board with that, and I'm really, to be honest with you, super excited to pick up the phone, probably even tonight, and give him a call. When I mentioned to
David,
him.
he's watching.
He's probably watching right now, for sure. And Evan, we're really thrilled that you're coming on board.
Is he invited to your Thanksgiving get-together and/or Christmas celebration?
I think we haven't made it that far yet, but we'll see, because we'll be looking closely in the next couple months. And Heather has agreed to help in the transition.
Thank you.
In Heather's amazing fashion, has a binder in place that could probably walk you through the 5 main things he has to do on day 1, so. I'm really excited about this. I will reach out to Evan, and step 1 is we have a new clerk who I think is gonna grow with the village and be an amazing asset.
And people will really like him.
Yeah, for sure.
Just like Jenna is very likable, Evan is also very likable and will be a good person to have in the office, I think.
Awesome. Good job, everybody.
I think people like our next clerk as well, before Evan, because that's next on the agenda list.
All right, so, everybody, thank you for that. That's awesome.
And thank you for making like a playbook. Thank you. That continuity is irreplaceable, and it's a lot of work, and it's something that, I know Meg didn't have when she came in, and spent a lot of time just getting up to speed, so I think that will help him tremendously. And I don't know if he'll know you're like right across the road, but I'm sure it'll be nice to have a resource. Yeah, that's so nice. Thank you, Heather.
Awesome, thank you, everyone. Okay, next is, as we just mentioned, Heather's last day is tomorrow. Thank you for everything again. Because Heather's leaving tomorrow and Evan won't be able to put in his 2 weeks' notice until tomorrow, we're gonna have a 2-week gap. Fortunately, it's a slow month in Franklin, so the 2 meetings that would normally take place during them, I take that back. 2 of the, planning will be taken care of. There is no HDC or ZBA meeting this month, so Evan will be ready for that come October. So next 2 weeks, everybody, don't be, surprised if you get answers a little slower. But he's gonna have to have his 3rd hat on.
Are we gonna have to get you a new sticker on your
It's like
title
signing
sign
day.
right
You're
here?
gonna have the hats in front of you.
So, yes, thank you. So that's just to give everyone a heads up. So what we need to do is we need to appoint Kirk to be the acting village clerk until our new clerk takes office. So can I get a motion to appoint Kurt Lawson as the acting village clerk effective Wednesday morning?
I move to appoint
I'll move that. I'll make a motion.
Interim.
All right, well, we got a motion by Gates, a second by Hanson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Wait, does he accept?
I do.
We're not gonna make you do much for this one. This is gonna be one of those, just in aficionado only.
The bare minimum.
Promise you won't have to do
This
minutes.
was more of a voluntold than.
I like that word.
Yeah.
I might have to steal that one. That's a good one. Okay, next is discussion consideration of dog ordinance revision. So this is really more for, that's something for planning. Eileen Harry Van reached out to Heather to let us know that they were tweaking their dog license ordinance, and all of our residents should know your dog is supposed to be licensed. You have to have them licensed by March of every year, and you go to Southfield Township to do that. However, we do have some level of a dog ordinance, I believe, and it also might address licensing. So Eileen, I believe, if you can see from this email, or did this come from Eileen, or?
No, it was
No,
Heather's
it actually
memo.
came from Heather, who I think heard from Eileen, but
Well, it wasn't Eileen, but still, Southfield Township.
someone in the township, okay, I'm sorry,
That's-
Eileen's office. She said that ours looked still pretty generic. So essentially, we're just looking to refer the issue of dog ordinance to the planning commission, reach out to the township, see what they're doing, compare it to ours, see if ours has any, if it does anything, if we need it. We just need to say we follow Southfield Townships. Does our ordinance do anything beyond licensing? It probably covers things like waste, and so while we're here, let's just do a run over of the licensing ordinance.
Yeah, just one, I guess I can wait till are we making a motion?
Well, yeah, if somebody is interested in doing this, then if I can get a motion in a second, then we'll have a discussion. If we're fine with how everything is and we'll just let the township handle it, then we can certainly do that.
I'll make a motion to refer it to planning.
Okay, we get a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second, let's have a discussion.
Yeah, so the discussion that I was gonna say is, specifically what at least I would like to see is whether or not we feel that the Southfield Township's dog ordinance is sufficient, and then we can just essentially do a one-line codification of their ordinance by reference.
Right, I know that we're subject to Southfield Township. I don't know if we can write an ordinance that's more liberal than theirs, but we can certainly, I think, if there's things that want to make it more.
Yeah, that would be my question, like, would the Southfield Township ordinance supersede ours if it came into conflict with our current ordinance? So,
Yep, that
are
would,
they setting the floor, and then,
that's right. So because we follow our charter through Southfield Township as our governing body above us, we would need to make sure that we're in line with them at the very least. And then if we can go a little more strict, I believe, with restrictions, as long as they don't call out something that we cannot be more strict on, right? So if there's a carve out, they say that,
Deer or not dogs.
yeah, deer are not dogs. Yes, right. So then we can't carve out saying you can't put a leash on your deer to protect them. Yeah. So anyway, that's just like normal laws for government, right? So we just have to make sure we adhere to whatever they have, and then we can add to more. We can add to it, but not in conflict with them.
Anyone else?
No.
All in favor of referring this to the planning commission to look at?
Aye.
All in favor? Aye, opposed? Okay. The next one is a discussion regarding regulations for control of blight, which Chris and the planning commission gave us a memo dated July 23rd. Fairly detailed as far as a comparison of the various types of nuisances, which is the more appropriate term than blight that is used in most communities. And there's all kinds of levels of nuisances. This memo first started out with the few areas that we actually do cover. So thank you for that, Stuart. And then it went into, I'm guessing, maybe just this whole list of the various types of nuisances that are typically out there or that most communities are confronted with throughout the course of a year, and then to what extent our ordinances address it or do not.
Right. Yeah, so the goal of the activity was to understand where our coverage is and then make a presentation to council with regards to what our coverage looks like, and then defer to council with regards to areas at which we see a deficiency, and if we need to improve those deficiencies, or if we're okay with those deficiencies, then do nothing. And I think one of the highlights that when going through this exercise for me was that in several cases over the years, I mean, when you were clerk previously, Heather, we had discussed several of these items individually, especially with commercial vehicles. But this is a much more holistic approach. In that we would actually, it would make more sense to have a nuisance area of our ordinance rather than putting it within parking or putting it within transportation or putting it within construction, and just having a nuisance area so people can go to and like, hey, this is the nuisance section of our village ordinance. So that was one of the recommendations that came out of that regardless, it makes sense to kind of bring everything in together from a nuisance standpoint, including the ones that are already on the books, just relocating them to a section that makes sense and easier for people to follow. In the past, what we had run into with some of these ordinances that because they're in different locations, we had an ordinance that covered the same thing but had different outcomes. Or different stipulations. You helped clean that one of those up, which was the commercial parking. Actually, President Goldberg, that was one where we had the ordinance actually need to be cleaned up because someone was asked to make a remedy of how they were parking their commercial vehicle, and then they pointed to an area of the ordinance that said perfectly fine to be doing this, and then the one that we cited was said something different. So we had to clean that up 5 years ago or so. So anyway, I think this is a good exercise. We'd like to hear direction from council with regards to this. I don't know if you want to give direction tonight or want to have another month to look at it. This will take us some time to work on. But if you would like to rank order some of these, because each one of these items will require some time to study out and make sure that we're either in line with our village's expectations and also in line with some of the local areas that have similar requirements, like Bingham Farms, right? If they have an ordinance, then we would borrow heavily from them, things like that. So
sorry,
yes.
This is phenomenal. Like, I'm overjoyed at this table chart. It's so clear to read. Thank you, Trustee Sally, for being the liaison, and Stuart, Chairman Wooters, because when infrastructure referred this, it was kind of this like idea of blight, and it was like amorphous, and you guys really dwindled it down, and it's executable now and actionable. So I just want to thank you for the work, because I know like digesting things into the simplified chart is not easy.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for delivering the content in a way that we can make decisions based off data. I first am so I defer to what council wants to do regarding this, but I think I'm happy with, planning taking the lead, because I think you guys are the experts, so I don't even know if it needs to go back to infrastructure.
Can I speak to that real quick? So what my intention was as liaison was to get this kind of gap analysis put together for us. But what I would really like to do is provide the specific direction back to the planning commission. So they've outlined what are the various types and categories of nuisance, and now it is up to us to basically say, what do we want to refer back? And then they can come with that comprehensive nuisance ordinance portion of our ordinance. So my recommendation is, I don't know that we're in a position to have that in the weeds dialogue, and would prefer that we place that burden on ourselves to come ready for the next council meeting, be able to speak to this.
Go ahead, Pam, because that was sort of where I was going with this.
I agree. There's a lot here, and there's a couple of them that stand out to me that we don't have any ordinance addressing this, and we need to, because we've had trouble, like construction
Right.
sites. But, so I support the idea of us taking this,
Yes.
kind of making our own prioritized list, and then coming ready next time to talk about it, so we can direct the planning commission.
And there are some low-hanging fruits, like, for example, you can put an RV on blocks in your yard, but you can't have one that's operable that sits in your yard for more than a certain period of time. So inoperable RVs, there's no coverage, but if it operates, we have coverage.
So, this was great. Infrastructure identified an issue. We asked you to do what planning does, which is vet this out, and you went to the full extent, which we appreciate. I agree. The next step should be really the left column and the far left column and the far right column from each of us. Here's the list of nuisances. The first thing it is, we already have something that addresses it. So the question to that is, do we want to continue addressing it? Where you see a no, the question is this something we should begin to address? So that we could at least, between all of us, come up with, all of this now has to get codified, or, there's still a few things in here, like, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, almost 11 no's. How many of those no's need to become yeses? Do any of the yeses need to become no's? And is there anything that this extensive list didn't cover that is floating around in any of our brains that we need to also have them look at? So I think you guys sit on hold for a month.
Sounds good.
Next month, we'll report back with everybody's thoughts on this, and then give you guys better direction on how to do it. The idea of pulling it out of all these various sections and putting it into one nuisance section definitely makes sense.
So I would recommend that at least if we do multi-phases of these, which we could do, then that first phase, I'd like to do that exercise where we pull them out and put them in a single nuisance. So even if we don't make a change to an ordinance, and you're okay with it, if we could pull that in that exercise, also just do the combination, just to simplify things.
For sure.
Regardless if you do nothing, then the direction could be, please just or reorganize it. That's fine too.
Make our staff or to make a resident have to go through.
Right.
That exercise is not helpful.
If McKenna can send this chart to you in an editable form, you can send it to all of council, so we can add our own column, so then it's digital.
Oh.
So that way you can aggregate the prioritization of council members, instead of like all of us talking next week, like, what did you rank, next time? I'm just saying, it can be, all captured in a collaboration tool.
Right.
I can do that. I'll just make it a fillable form and I'll send it to you next week.
Thank you so much.
Wait, like tonight, you're done tomorrow?
12:01, she's not doing it, so she's got to hurry up. We got to finish.
I was thinking.
It's not 11 o'clock yet.
No, I agree. Having like having a table that we could actually sort on and organize on would be very helpful.
Don't pivot tables now, Stuart. It's too much.
The problem is it's really hard to share those with the public in a printed form. But yes, agreed. As a working document, perfect. Works great. So, good.
Awesome.
Anything else?
Nope. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Yes.
Should we appoint
Angelina?
Stuart to the? Yeah, I was gonna
Well,
say.
right, so that's next. So we have a green committee, which consists of Pam and Angelina and Abby. And it's come to some discussion that we want to start doing some more detailed planning of the green project, starting with probably a bird's eye view of some of the proposed changes. I think we're looking to expand the committee. So in discussions with the existing committee, the thought was maybe one or 2 people from planning, and what else did we discuss? And maybe someone from HDC, and then maybe,
Community members would be.
yeah, and then
community
maybe,
member,
like,
a planning member, yeah,
this-
so we're gonna get number,
a
like, can't be
citizen
more than
that's,
like 5, 6 people.
yeah,
Why not?
so expand the 3 to maybe 6, 7. So Stuart, if you have the time and can start working with these guys and putting together a plan that we can begin to get into what's an executable form that we could then start taking to various governmental bodies and taking it, probably the first thing would be to put a phasing on it, because I don't think anything we do is gonna be able to be done in one phase. So, yeah, if you're interested in that, I think they would welcome your input, and that will then get us some planning perspective. So, I'll make a motion that we add Stuart to the, green, what do we call it? The Green Space Committee. So a motion from Goldberg, second from Gates. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Stuart, thank you for more time.
There wasn't a discussion. I have a
Okay, I'm sorry.
comment.
Oh,
There
okay.
was- I was waiting for
I'm sorry,
that little hole between.
No, they're
motion
usually, I
and-
apologize, because I usually do, and it went through my head, I'm like, do we need a discussion on this? I guess, but you're right, I didn't give you a chance to speak, so.
Thank you. I would like to address this. What I think this is the kind of project that ultimately needs to be owned by the council, and, because it's big and complicated and long-term. What I'd like to invite discussion on is that we think about this a little differently than moving it to a committee of the council. With due respect, now we're integrated, but that we invite more than one community member. One community member cannot speak for this community. I would like to think differently about it and invite stakeholder community members who have a vested interest already in that space that we might be affecting.
Yeah, and I
That's-
apologize. The intent was just the discussion amongst us. The participants in the Green Committee that you had already had assembled,
Yeah.
someone from the church, someone from the baseball league,
Yeah.
Jeremy and Mark, we're completely anticipating them being involved as well.
Oh, well, Angeline had said one community member,
Yeah.
and I was thrown off by
I
that.
know, and I forgot, I misspoke.
We talked about having them as like liaison stakeholders, but on the subcommittee itself, it not growing to 8, 9, 10 people, because the council and planning represent all of the village. The stakeholders represent their stake in the village. So, like Abby and I have already, Stuart has literally talked to the Historical Society already. He's already talked to the FCA. He's already talked to the baseball. Or church, church. He's already talked to the library. Did you say you had? Library. You said you were using the library space. So he's already engaged that stakeholder group. And so that's why we were thinking he would be a great addition to the committee to serve as a liaison. And then these stakeholders obviously weigh in, but since ultimately it's a council-owned project, that the committee would be comprised of council members and appointees, which you said HGC, because I think we talked about our land being historic now. So we wanted to make sure that if we did anything on the land, is that true? It was yeah, so having one person from HDC, so it being like a 5-person committee with a lot of feelers out to our stakeholders and making sure their interests were represented.
But yes, it's always been the intent that the players, the participants be involved. Whether they're on the quote-unquote committee or the committee and them are working together, that's more semantics than anything. I don't really think that any votes of any substance are coming out of this body anyways that can be done, that this body doesn't have the authority to do.
Okay,
So I think it's the same committee that existed and just adding Stewart in. Because Stewart, when he found out that this was going on, I think was wondering why planning wasn't involved in the process.
Stuart actually grabbed me after a council meeting and
Yes.
asked me that very question very bluntly.
And we
I
hadn't
had
gotten to that
explain.
step,
Yeah.
but in due respect,
Yeah, for
let's
directness.
let's just go ahead and include them now. So, no, I think in the big picture, the only thing changing from the idea of how we get to a plan was adding Stewart. Whether the other participants and who they choose to be their liaison to that committee is sort of up to them.
So who's on the committee?
Well, again, the committee consists of the three of you and Stewart, and then the other three people were a representative from the FCA, a representative from the Baseball League, and a representative from the church. And then Angelina has suggested
The
that maybe we
library.
get,
No, not the library?
I mean, I guess
I
we
mean,
could
I
get the
think for like
library in.
stakeholders are business people, the library, the preschool, like, to me, like, the extent of stakeholders is so vast. I even suggested to you, like, an unaffiliated resident, you know, like, but the core committee who like needs to organize meetings and talk
Right.
about rendering, and get, research for grants, like, it needs to be manageable and it can't get unwieldy because there are boards associated with these other groups. And so we need to have like the committee, and my suggestion, and I talked about this with David, was like definitely adding Stewart. HGC came up because we're beholden to them, because of our, designation as historic, property. And then us identify these stakeholders who Stewart's already begun working with in order to make sure like we get their opinion and their feedback informs our direction, but that the core committee remain appointees and council. Sorry, Stuart.
No, that's exactly right. I think that we want this to have village buy-in. I think one of the challenges we have as a village government body is public interaction for, I mean, some things we have lines out the door that people are interested in, and some things that people are not interested in as well. And so it's important that, you know, we include a voice to those individuals that use the screen space. And I think that there's some obvious ones that are obviously share the green area, or the green space bleeds into their area. And so it makes sense to make sure that they're aware of these meetings when they're happening, being a little bit more assertive with regards to, hey, we're having this meeting about this topic. We really like you to be there or have a representative there representing you, because if we don't do that, then we get I didn't know we were talking about this, or I'm surprised by this comment, even though the things that we'll present are going to be in public record and people will see them, but people still get surprised. So especially with this type of topic where we're discussing green space, discussing how the village will look, and since the master plan also talks about how we're trying to maintain a green space or maintain a look for our village. Not many people read through that, so we want to at least have the stakeholders have at least it's also a burnout on us to make sure that they attend or they have a representative, because we need their input and we need their help with regards to their organizations and how the space will be used. So anyway, that's my take on the use of the stakeholders.
So my question's really simple. Who's on the committee and how would we involve community members? I think I hear the same goals.
Right.
You have the same goals, I do, you do. So what I'm listening for is how does all that knit together?
Right.
Is there a small group a working group or a committee of Stuart, Abby,
You and
me,
Angelina.
Angelina?
That's it.
Or is that a broader group that includes others?
So, as we found out, and everybody's found, just to get people together with schedules is challenging. So
Yeah.
you start having a 7 and 8 person committee and calling that the committee, and all those 8 individuals need to be there every time you meet is gonna be challenging. So the thought is, the quote-unquote committee is the 3 elected officials that began and adding Stewart. The committee then, as part of their process, and you guys have scheduled meetings, is to include all of these other people, invite all these other people to participate. Maybe one day you're only focusing on the FCA property, so then maybe that day you only have Kathy and whoever Kathy wants to bring from the FCA in. Maybe one day you're discussing how the baseball field's impacted, so Jeremy's there that day, and maybe you meet with his board of directors, but the committee is really just us, the elected officials and the appointed officials, and then everyone else is what the committee's for. They're the beneficiaries. We are in a way too, of course, but the baseball league is looking for help. The FCA is looking for help. The church wants to be more involved. So I think the committee needs to continue that dialogue with them.
Yeah.
And to the extent Main Street is also involved and Alex is involved in getting her assistance, I don't think any of that changes. All that we're really asking to do is add Stewart now, get you back involved, and, and begin the process of taking it to this next level, which is do everything you were planning on doing and come up with a plan and a scope. And once you have the big picture, then I think we would start dividing it into like phases. Which are the things we want to focus on first? I mean, I think focusing on things that are the village assets would be a good starting point. And that's, I think, what, to answer your question.
I just haven't been involved in
This
those
just came
discussions, so
about
I'm
yesterday.
learning
Yeah,
right
this
now.
is
This
evolving.
came about in the last 24 hours of Angelina thinking that they're ready to pick it up again.
Okay, so let me throw this on the pile and see what you guys think. In a meeting with Meg before she left, Alex Huff, who is our liaison with economic development, she's a planner and an architect, suggested to Meg, and Meg really liked this idea, is to use the vehicle of a recreation plan, develop a recreation plan. It's a thing in the planner world, as the way to create the description of the green project that is actually going to be executable. The advantages of doing that is there's a kind of the structure for such a plan. Having such a plan, because of the information that it contains, takes us a long way to being able to be eligible for county and state funding. And we also can use it to obtain resources from the county to help us write it. Other cities have these things, we don't. We just have this, we have what we have. That's where they left off. I thought it was a good idea. I was unfamiliar with, other than at a very superficial level, what this meant. Meg knew exactly what Alex was talking about. Is that something, and I wanted to bring it up here because it is a path forward. I don't, you know, it makes sense because it allows for community participation and all those other things. What?
Why don't we have Alex at the next meeting? Or do you have,
Because
I've got a
notes?
call with her tomorrow, so I will, yeah, and
that-
Simon was the other one.
They told us that you
Yes.
can't get any money
Right.
without a recreation
I
plan.
just said it differently.
Right.
Yes, I
And-
didn't want to be
and-
draconian about it.
And you're correct. I've seen communities that have 50-page rec plans and
Yeah,
communities that
yeah.
have 3-page rec plans.
Yeah.
Because they have to have a rec plan in order to do whatever. So I guess that's what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Does the rec plan come before the green plan, or did we come up with a green plan to determine whether we even need a rec plan?
I think they might be the same thing.
Well, the
overlap.
green
The
plan
Venn
would be a
diagrams
part
really
of it. I mean,
overlap.
a rec
yeah.
plan would be a rec plan for the whole village, albeit
Yeah.
that the area that is in question is pretty much so the only rec areas that we have. So
Yeah.
you might be right, they might be one and the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah, that
But-
was kind of how they were talking about it.
Correct.
but,
We
you know.
eventually will need to create a recreation plan, but they can also be very simple
Yes,
and can grow over time. And a simple one would be enough to satisfy the requirement of having to have it in order to apply for and gain funding. So, yes, I think that's something that ultimately has to be implemented into the process.
Okay.
It sounds like a great vehicle for being able to do this,
I
so.
think it's a vehicle for the process that
Yeah.
we all,
Yeah.
that,
I
Yeah.
want to look into it more. I want to understand it more.
So my recommendation is, even, just separately, I do think that it would make sense for Alex to talk with the Green Committee, because regardless of whether, if they're the same thing, then that's important. And if they're separate, they need to be able to do the correlation between the two. So you all planning the green plan need to understand what you're building towards with the rec plan.
Agreed.
I like it,
Okay,
thank you.
excellent, thanks.
and I accept.
All right, last
We
item.
don't give options here. It's just
Voluntold.
So the last item for us to discuss is, again, we're not using any individual names. So, along with the clerk, we also were moving forward, we are moving forward on a treasurer. So went through the same process with a treasurer, received less applications for treasurer than we had for clerk. Did the same thing, ranked them, separated them. From the treasurer's list, we had 3 individuals that we wanted to invite for interviews. Same thing, one of them took a job during the process, so that left us the 2 individuals who we interviewed. Both a little bit different in their both experience, one more finance background and had been doing it for a longer period of time. Has been involved in municipal government probably back into the late 80s until now. The other individual's been involved in municipal government more over the course of the last 15 years. Both very qualified in different ways. The committee itself was torn, and we were ready to really come back to you guys to say, kind of as we did when we were looking at chief, maybe we need to have council interview, if you will, or meet these individuals to help in the separation. So we asked chief to do background checks on both individuals. And in the course of that, it was discovered that one of the 2 individuals in the course of their lifetime, once in 2005, and again most recently in 2017, had personal bankruptcies that they filed for. And this is obviously an individual that we would be asking to be the shepherd of our finances. And I think we would be remiss to exclude them completely on our own accord without running it by everybody. I think amongst ourselves, it was is this a discussion point? Is this a bring the individual in and ask it as part of the second interview, or is it a non-starter? And that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up now, which is if the majority of us it's a non-starter, it's really hard to take to the residents of Franklin that we want to bring in somebody that has, albeit for any reasons that anybody, and we've all could have had, and throughout the course of our lives, had financial hardships. And if it were for any position other than the treasurer, I think it would almost be moot, because we don't need to go that personal. But because those 2 do cross, and we felt that it was necessary to bring. So I'm bringing it here for discussion. If in fact the majority of the discussion seems to be that that's really hard to absorb and would be from a background check, a non-starter, then that's why we're here. So I will open it up for each of your 3 thoughts, because we've already been discussing it.
Yeah, so I guess my initial questions right off the bat would be, did they serve in a municipal treasurer role, having that financial, that fiscal, I don't know, long meeting, loss of words, the fiduciary duty over public funds during the times of those bankruptcies? And then my second question would be, was there any disclosure of that during the interview? Because I think it would be important to understand like how they managed that situation.
So to answer your questions, not disclosed in the interview. I could do the math. The first one, which was in 2005, I'm gonna guess would have not been while it was during their professional career. It would have been more when they were young. The more recent one, I would have to go back and see whether in 2017, were they already working in a, you can tell from the resume, whether they were already working in a municipal capacity, and that happened while they were in a municipal job, to the extent that matters to us. So, that's the answer to those. One for sure, no. The other one I could get you an answer, you know, we can get an answer to. It's gonna be probably.
I have the answer, and the answer is this person was employed by the city of Warren at that time.
Okay, that answers it, yep.
In an accounting technician, a technical capacity.
So just a question to clarify, between these 2 candidates, it's essentially a toss-up among the members of the committee, is that how we feel?
I interviewed one. Was that the one I interviewed?
Yes.
I have not spoken with the other.
Correct. And I know that you had issues from other parts of that person's interview that you weren't thrilled about. Yeah, I mean, the 2 individuals are definitely in different stages of their careers. One's been, has already been retired from one job and is now, you know, in that second phase. The other individuals, you know, are in the middle of her normal, is that her, but, yeah.
It feels like there are enough reservations about both. Does this have to be the only candidate pool we consider for a role that we've all agreed is important? And there's
No,
not.
absolutely not.
That was
Certainly,
gonna be my question.
certainly open it up again.
Right.
As far as the other individual, it wasn't as much that we weren't comfortable with her at all. It was that this other individual had nice characteristics that were making us think. But I guess you tell us what you would think.
I wouldn't be opposed to having the new clerk weigh in on who he wants one of his colleagues to be, and/or waiting till the administrator comes in, because maybe they have a network that they can pull from. But regarding the bankruptcy, to me, I have like so many questions. Did he have a duty, or she have a duty to disclose that they were filing bankruptcy? Because normally you would file a financial disclosure annually if you're in a financial capacity with the government. But if there was no duty to disclose, and a bankruptcy isn't a financial crime, right? It's sometimes a strategic.
No.
Exactly, it's a strategic financial vehicle.
It's more a management issue.
Exactly, so it's like a strategic financial avenue, and some people take it because it is a better option and it's a risk-based decision. And so I just wanna not conflate the two, because personally, I have so much student loan debt, like, you could say, oh, this person is, you know, not financially savvy. So I just hesitate but what makes me want to put the recruitment efforts, get them launched again, is that there were other reservations apart from this. And to me, I think that, you know, we're putting out this new role and we need to do it right, and we should find, you know, the best candidate for the position. And if we have, you know, baseline candidates that we're not thrilled about, we should see if we could post for more, especially given that we're gonna have, a clerk, which was, you know, one of our priority hires.
Thoughts?
My thoughts are that I would really like, Abby, for you to talk to the second candidate
Me too.
before we make a decision
Me too.
to open up the search again.
With the other candidate too, like,
Pardon?
it was a substantial drive for that person.
Yes.
Like, even in,
Correct, that
like,
was
it was
also a
going to be,
concern.
yes,
The
that
individual was gonna have
was
an hour drive at least
to
on a
and
daily
from, so
basis.
that was something to consider.
Yeah.
Especially with 696 closed down and winter and,
Sorry, that's the
Correct.
same as the bankruptcy person, or that's the other?
It
All the
is-
same,
it
all the
is the
same
same,
person.
yeah.
Okay.
The other individual lives very close.
sorry to interrupt you.
No, that was, I forgot, that was also, again, an issue that we would have had in our subsequent dialogue, but for this issue.
And Kurt, I'm gonna sort of ask you your thoughts on this, since you do know this other person. One of the concerns you and I talked about, David, was one woman had a more of a financial accounting strength, and the other person had a lot of experience with budgeting. She had grown up in West Bloomfield from progressively more responsible positions, and she retired from there. And one of the questions we had after the interview was, would she be able to find happiness in and be competent in financial accounting, which is a big chunk of our treasury job? That's the only thing that, I think that's the essence of what you and I were kind of throwing
So
around.
her skill set has kind of, she's grown up beyond an accounting role. Like,
Yeah.
a more experienced candidate, and we're asking
She's a more
this person to do an arguably more junior job. Is that?
I think the job here is both accounting, budgeting, financial management, overseeing investments. It's the whole gamut of financial tasks. We just have one person on this end and another person kind of in the middle, in the middle third, or the, yeah. So what do you think about what I just said?
Yeah, so I mean, what I know about her is I worked with her for many years. You know, I would do my budget within the police department, and she was in charge of the budget for the overall township, but she was also in charge of all the pensions. And she worked side by side with our accountants as far as, you know, making sure the bills were paid. But she has a history of being, you know, doing investments for the pension board. Certainly she knows BSNA, which is our accounting software. She works side by side with Plant Moran for years. Certainly got along with everybody. So I really have nothing bad at all to say about her, at all. There was a couple concerns if she was, you know, had the drive to do this. I've always found that she was a hard worker, and that, you know, she's a lot like Heather. She'll stay after work when it's needed. So
Yeah.
that's just my input.
Okay, thank you. We were just concerned that she wouldn't want to be doing that transactional stuff.
So on the same vein, what's your take on the bankruptcy?
Well,
process?
it's not
Sorry.
the same candidate.
Not the same.
Oh, I know,
But
but
is
I
that
just
the
think it's
thought of-
important because
Yeah.
he's a police officer, the clerk, and the
And the
administrator.
administrator.
So I want to know what he
Very
thinks.
valued judgment sitting there.
You have to tell us which hat you're wearing.
He's got all three.
So how we find the bankruptcy is we use we belong to we subcontract with a company that does all the backgrounds for us. And it's just a preliminary information. I don't have any details to drill down on why this person filed for bankruptcy, what the situation. We haven't even asked them about that. So I can't really say much more about that. I mean,
Any perceptions, or is that a concern to you? Can we,
It,
is
wa-
that a,
it was just something I thought that I should bring back to the HR committee, but whether it's a concern to all of you or not, that's up to you.
That was prudent, so thank you.
Yeah.
Second question, did the other candidates say why he or she wanted to come out of retirement for this position?
Oh, no, they were out of retirement. They're currently working
Oh.
in another job. They're
Oh,
work-
okay.
just, I think that's the normal process. You work in a certain
Pension.
place.
Right,
You
she-
retire.
Oh, okay,
you
so
retire
she's
to get your
retired.
She's not
pension.
old retired, she's like middle-aged.
No,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
didn't, when you guys said she
It's-
retired.
No,
I-
pension plus,
Yeah.
probably.
We were able to leave West Bloomfield at a young age and get our pension, so, you know, you still want to keep working to be active.
Note to self,
We
let's
have
get
some
hired
of
by
those.
West Bloomfield.
Dang it.
Yeah, note to self,
Real
no
quick
pension.
question, have we reached out to, the Oakland County CFO, regarding either of the candidates? Or just that network of Oakland County to see if there's, any additional insights, reputations, anything like that?
I mentioned it to Robert Wittenberg at a land bank meeting a month ago, and he said, great, good luck.
So
He wasn't much help.
we
so.
met with the Oakland County CFO, back in June, and, he was really open to helping with contracts, procurements, acquisitions, grants, networking, hiring.
Just another
all of it.
stone to unturned. But I think to your direct question of what do we do next, my personal feeling is like, I genuinely defer to the HR committee. So, because I haven't met with either of these individuals, it's hard to say whether or not we open up the pool to go find additional candidates, right? Where essentially we're letting both, in essence, we'd be letting both those candidates go. But I appreciate, again, that consideration.
We might or might not be letting
Right,
them go.
right.
They could be pursuing other jobs, they could not. Of all the jobs that we're looking to fill, the clerk was the most immediate,
Yep.
and we need to get a new administrator in here. We've had a treasurer in the last 20 years. So when it comes to the bills, of all the things that can continue to go the way it is, sort of a status quo, that's been the one thing that Heather's been doing the least of. It's still been Plant Moran coming in every other Friday to log in the bills, Kurt doing the coding, Jenna cutting the checks, me signing them. So,
So Chief Clerk
I was
Administrator.
gonna say, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Chief Lawson
that
to
the
acting treasurer.
he's leaving. So, the urgency is not there
Yeah,
like it is for
yeah,
administrator
right,
and clerk.
Right.
So if us doing a little more homework, I can pick up the phone and call this individual and vet it out a little. Look, running a municipal government's money where it's not your money and what you do in the decisions you make in your life have nothing to do with the revenues that come in and the expenses that need to be paid. That's way different than your own life. A lot of things happen in life, jobs, illnesses, status of the world that could trigger someone into a personal bankruptcy. And as Angelina said, bankruptcy sometimes is a strategic means of just clearing your life. So that was why I asked the question. I wasn't in the camp of it's a non-starter. I was in the camp of I'd like to know more.
Yep.
So that could be the next step, is I can have a heart-to-heart with the individual and say, hey, look, you didn't tell us about this. We know about it. Give us some background. If they're honest and forthright and makes real clear answers, I'll bring that back to us. If it's defensive and stammering and hiding and triggers a whole characteristics in the individual that wouldn't be characteristics that we would like, then I would report that back as well.
There's one other factor. If I were just to throw away the bankruptcy information, just not even think about it, my hesitancy about her is that the candidate, that I really liked it, I really like her. But she made some statements in the interview that I thought were inappropriate about past coworkers, supervisors, and
I thought it was almost disparaging.
well, yeah, it was
That's what I said in my-
disparaging.
Yeah.
Well, you did.
And I
did say
thought
disparaging.
there was a lack of polish that I would be looking for in a treasurer who has to interact with other municipalities on our behalf, who needs to they need to stand up a function.
Talked a
'Cause
lot
we
about
don't have one.
delegation.
Hmm?
Talked a lot about delegation, and that's not the ask. The ask is the creation of something that doesn't exist.
That's the swing vote for me, even more than the
To
bankruptcy
me,
information.
I appreciate that, because I was gonna say, notwithstanding the bankruptcy thing, you guys don't even seem over the moon with this candidate. Like, the way you talk about Evan is, you know, you're inviting him to Thanksgiving, and this, you know.
Almost.
Almost. But either of these two candidates, like, I don't hear the same passion, and there's like concerns and hesitancy, and I appreciate you saying that, because like, you both have like good intuition, you've interviewed enough people, you coach, executives in our comms and HR, so, you know, I feel like sometimes your instinct is on, but then also having verbal confirmation that this person may not be the best team player, and it's Franklin you have to work with.
No, it's okay, go ahead.
No, I just want, can I answer one of his questions?
Yeah.
Do that? I reached out to, per request of Kurt and David, Donna Manyhard, I believe I'm saying it right. She is she's with Oakland County IT specifically, but she leads the Oakland County Treasurer meets monthly. And she wasn't aware of either one of the she was aware of one of them because of the proximity in which they work, but because they're, to David's point, not treasurers or deputies.
Got it.
She wasn't personally aware,
Okay.
so I just want you to know.
Yeah, appreciate it, thank you.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how frank we could be on some of the concerns, but
Yeah.
I got like, there was an undercurrent of tension with this person and how they interacted with a leader in their current administration, how they spoke about a medical condition. I didn't love that. I didn't love that this person led with that. I didn't see it as an excuse for any conduct or any reason they might have chosen to do something. It was just an interesting point to air some frustration. And I was like, ooh, that's a really awful scenario to have happened in this person's life, and it feels like it's fodder in an interview process. I don't like the look and feel of that,
Yeah.
speaking about someone or on their behalf as a measure of their leadership skills, knowing that we could do the math and figure out who that person was. I thought it was disparaging,
We were
and I thought it was in poor
strangers.
form, yeah.
Yeah, I share your concern, Abby, and,
Agreed.
you know, and there was
See that.
some usage concerns I had. It's the person who's gonna handle all of our money. It's a big deal job, and I just found myself gravitating strongly,
Okay, well,
And I'm
we might have
enthused about
answered,
the
we
other
might have
person.
answered the
I am.
question without answering the question.
Yeah.
I
So-
would oppose it. I'll just say
So,
that. I would
let's
oppose
say
it.
this.
Yeah.
We weren't here to recommend anybody anyways.
Yeah.
We were here to get thoughts on the issue, which we now have. We'll go back and discuss amongst ourselves these two candidates, whether out of these two candidates, especially if you get a chance to speak to the one, whether we're okay with the one of the individuals, and if not, we'll continue the search
Yeah.
and continue our focus on administrator as well, and economic development director. So, okay, good, thank you for all those thoughts, that gives us more direction. I think that's everything on the agenda for today. So I'm gonna go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 9:27.
Motion to, do we need a
Oh, I guess,
motion?
I know, I never know if it needs to be
Are those
motion.
deer?
I'm just gonna adjourn the meeting.